Chapter 1773. Monster Ancestral Land. Space suddenly trembled, and the Patriarch and Chinyu appeared. I have already notified the daunting master. He will arrive soon. Chinyu nodded. As for my breakthrough, I asked Patriarch to keep it a secret. Sec Master Chin, don't worry. I know what I'm doing. The Patriarch's eyes flashed. He has arrived. Space shook once more. But soon, the Patriarch's complexion darkened, because at this moment, two figures walked out from the shaking space. One of them was the daunting master, and the other, Chinyu's pupils shrank. The other person was the ancient remnant that had fished at the peak of star-sifting mountain. Little Meaty had once made some sort of deal with him, but Chinyu didn't know the specifics. But now, none of this was important. What was important was that this ancient remnant recognized Chinyu. As long as they met, it was possible that Chinyu's next plan would be ruined. But with things having reached this step, there was no way to avoid it. He could only take it one step at a time. The daunting master cupped his hands together and smiled. Patriarch, Sect Master Chin, this saint has been summoned. He turned and led the way. This is the fisherman, another true sovereign of the saint race. This saint specially invited him here to prevent any accidents. The Patriarch took a deep breath and smiled. This is good. With the fisherman joining us, our chances will be greater. The fisherman wore a raincoat. He stepped forward and cupped his hands together. Greetings, Patriarch, Sect Master Chin. His expression was calm. His eyes were also calm. The Patriarch smiled and nodded. Chinyu cupped his hands together. The atmosphere eased, but everyone had their own thoughts. But Chinyu was undoubtedly the most surprised and relieved one. The fisherman acted as if he didn't know him at all, but it was clear that the true sovereign's memory wasn't that bad. The other party chose to remain silent. No matter what the reason was, it was good news for Chinyu. At the very least, this gave Chinyu time to adjust and move. The fisherman retreated and stood together with the daunting master. The clan leader squinted his eyes and smilingly said, Everyone, since everyone is here, let's make our move as soon as possible, in case something unexpected happens. Although he was calm on the surface, he was inwardly angry. Today, he was tricked by the Lord of Daunting. If the two true sovereigns of the ancient era joined hands, it would be very difficult for him to deal with them. It would be very difficult for him to monopolize the remains of the immortal species. But now they cannot show it. Otherwise, it would be foolish for them to start an internal strife before they even fought. The Patriarch made the same choice as Chinyu. He temporarily maintained his composure and took things one step at a time. The Lord of Daunting nods with a smile. Okay. Swish, the four true sovereigns flew into the monster race's ancestral land at the same time. What greeted them was still the familiar fog, but this time there were no demons to stop them. It was as if the demon clan's ancestral land did not notice their intrusion at all. Humph! The Lord of Daunting sneers. God Qing, do you think we can't break in if you pretend not to know? What a joke. Open for me. He flicked his sleeve, and the sound of roaring waves immediately rang out. The fog in front of him was directly washed away. The Lord of Daunting takes the first step. I will open the way. Follow me. This posture was completely different from when he was scared to death by the demon moon and fled in panic. It was very arrogant, but it was really effective. The four true sovereigns tore apart the fog of the demon clan's ancestral land and stepped into it. Swish! God Qing appeared. Her face was cold, and her eyes were even colder. Lord of Daunting, how dare you break into the demon clan's ancestral land? The Lord of Daunting laughed. God Qing, you will soon find that my courage is bigger than you think. With that, he licked the corner of his mouth. Humph! God Qing flicked her sleeve, and the sky was full of blue gas, which turned into a vast sea of clouds, covering the sky and the sun. The Patriarch suddenly said, God Qing, you have to think about it. Once we fight, the true sovereigns outside will sense it and will come here. The existence of the demon pool is likely to be exposed. Do you think the Qin state will attack you if it knows this? God Qing's face changed slightly. At this moment, a blue demonic moon suddenly appeared in the distance. It was illusory, half hidden in the clouds, like a bubble illusion. God Qing, don't talk nonsense with them. If they dare to touch the demon pool, let them come. It's the demonic moon. God Qing glanced at the crowd, turned around, took a step back, and disappeared directly. The Lord of Daunting, who was slightly dispirited, burned again. Humph. So what if it's the demonic moon? She is only one person, but we have 4 true sovereigns. The patriarch said lightly, I hope that the Lord of Daunting can still maintain his current momentum and courage in the face-to-face battle. Let's go. He took a step forward. Stepping on the void, he went straight to the demon clan's ancestral land. The reason why he didn't come was that he was cautious. After all, the demon clan had existed for a long time, and no one knew whether they had other trump cards. It was better to be cautious than to be careless and suffer losses directly. The Lord of Daunting snorted and followed. Of course, he knew that there was now a gap between him and the patriarch. But there was no other way. He couldn't just watch as his efforts went to waste and all his hard work went to the bridal gown of others. Moreover, this was the ruined body of a long-lived being. As long as he could seize it, even if he had to fall out with the patriarch, it would be worth it. Qin Yu and the fisherman were the last to arrive. Perhaps it was because the two of them were restricting each other, but the patriarch and the Lord of Daunting didn't pay much attention to them. Qin Yu hesitated for a moment and then decided to take the initiative to speak. Mr. Fisherman, we meet again. He looked ahead without expression. Only his lips moved. The fisherman lightly said, Sect Master Qin, I never thought that after so long, you would have such achievements. You are indeed worthy of being chosen by that person. Qin Yu said, Mr. Fisherman is too serious. It was just luck. Just as he decided to end the small talk and get straight to the point, the fisherman suddenly said, Sect Master Qin, rest assured that since I didn't say anything about what happened between you and me, I will naturally keep it a secret. In return, I hope to know whether or not that person will take action today. If Little Meat was going to do something, what was the point of them doing? Escaping was the most important thing. If they interfered in a battle between long-lived beings, even a true sovereign would die. Qin Yu thought for a moment, and then shook his head. The fisherman let out a sigh of relief. Thank you, Sect Master Qin. Now we are even. But I will not give up on the lucky chance at the monster pool today. You and I will use our own methods. Qin Yu said, all right. The result was even better than he imagined. But Qin Yu was well aware that the reason the fisherman was so easy to talk to wasn't because he was kind-hearted, but because he feared Little Meat. After all, Little Meat had been very serious and had repeatedly reminded the fisherman that Qin Yu was one of her people. The importance of this could be imagined. That was good. As long as the fisherman didn't jump out and cause trouble, Qin Yu would be able to win this round. Use our own abilities? Humph humph. What qualifications do you have to use your own abilities against me? Bai Fei Fei is one of my people. At the very least, she could be considered a mutually beneficial transaction partner. As for Moonfiend, she has already reached an agreement with me. That clan was sitting at the mouth of a volcano without knowing it. Once the time came, Qin Yu could overturn them. As for the Daunting Master and the fisherman, whether or not the latter would dare to attack him was another matter altogether. Only the Daunting Master was left. He didn't know whether or not Moonfiend would kill him, but if there was a chance, Qin Yu would definitely cut him down with his sword. That damn thing. Qin Yu couldn't help but grit his teeth as he recalled the way he looked at 327. In summary, Qin Yu was already in an invincible position in this round of the monster pool. Shua! Shua! The 4 true sovereigns crossed through space, crossing the monster race's ancestral land and heading straight into its depths. It was unknown whether it was because they had received a warning from the 2 monster race true sovereigns ahead of time, but the many monsters living here didn't act rashly despite their icy cold eyes filled with resentment. The journey was smooth without any accidents or disturbances. The group of 4 arrived at Heaven Devil City. Further behind them were the 2 Heaven Devil Mountains. Currently, the Heaven Devil Mountains were seething with monster energy. Giant monster phantoms shot into the skies, locking onto the 4 true sovereigns as they roared in anger. The patriarch's complexion didn't change. He lifted a hand and pressed down. Bang! Between the heavens and earth, an invisible hand seemed to fall down. The numerous monster phantoms on the Heaven Devil Mountains were instantly turned to ashes. The daunting master wasn't to be outdone. Even at this moment, he was deliberately displaying his strength in order to deter the patriarch so that he didn't dare to act rashly. Humph! He coldly sneered. Black water instantly bloomed, forming ripples that spread out in all directions. In the blink of an eye, it covered the two Heaven Devil Mountains like black clouds wove together. Rumble, rumble, rumble. A loud explosion erupted from the black clouds. Heavy rain poured down, covering the entire Heaven Devil Mountains. All of the monster phantoms emitted mournful cries. Black smoke billowed out from their bodies, and they quickly dissipated. Daunting master, what a good method. The patriarch's complexion relaxed. The ancient remnant races were indeed skilled in dealing with a monster race. The daunting master said, Patriarch, this saint also had no other choice. I hope you can understand. The patriarch said, I understand. On the surface, the confrontation between the two sides had come to an end, and the atmosphere had eased. But only they knew what the actual situation was. After flying over the Heaven Devil Mountains, they arrived at the core area of the monster race's ancestral land, the huge plain. Now, the ground was broken and many stone tablets had fallen. The severely rotten monster's body tore open the ground and drilled out. Looking at the four intruders, it raised its head and roared angrily. Its blood-red eyes were filled with cold and violent murderous intent. Yao Yu and Qing Shin stood in the air. The azure light of the demonic moon sprinkled down from the sky and enveloped everything. The patriarch and the daunting master's faces instantly became solemn. Even the true emperor realm wasn't completely fearless. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been so many true emperors dying in the past. After all, the monster race was the oldest race that had existed in this world for the longest time. Being at the core of the ancestral land, with Yao Yu and Qing Shen guarding it. Even if the four true emperors joined forces, they still had to be careful. Patriarch, are you going back on your word? I'm very angry. Yao Yu went straight to the point. The patriarch said, Yao Yu, I am truly sorry. I don't want to go back on my word, but I have no other choice. He cupped his hands together and said, Today, since we have returned, that is enough to show our attitude. We will not give up until we achieve our goal. Yao Yu, if you are willing to back down and hand over the demon pool, I can guarantee that the other race will be willing to ally with the monster race. From now on, we will share weal and woe and work together to gain a foothold in this world. The daunting master said, The saint race is also willing to let go of our former enmity and ally with the monster race. At that time, with the strength of our three forces, even the Qin Empire will have to think twice and won't dare to force us too much. Yao Yu sneered. You came to our doorstep and bullied my monster race to this point. Do you think these words are meaningful? She lifted a hand. Less nonsense. Let's fight first. If you can suppress me, the monster race will naturally be at your disposal. Otherwise, you will all stay behind and become food for my monster race children. Above her head, the demonic moon shined brightly. Roar, roar. From a shattered earth, rotting monster corpses rushed out. Monster energy soared into the sky, containing an endless aura of death. Under the illumination of the demonic moon, their strength was greatly enhanced. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Yao Yu, today I will let you know that the methods of your monster race are worthless in the eyes of the saint race. The daunting master clenched his teeth and roared. He lifted his hands, and with a loud rumble, the sound of roaring waves rose up behind him. A black lake appeared above his head. This lake could be regarded as the appearance of his great tool. Now, as the lake water boiled and tumbled, thick water vapor shot into the sky. In the blink of an eye, thick black clouds wove together. This scene was extremely similar to when the great monster phantoms were killed on the Tianyao Mountain. It was just that back then, it was just a casual strike. But now, the daunting master had used his full strength. His great tool had appeared, and he had even summoned the lake. Of course, he attacked with all his strength. But the result was a bit miserable. This was because the rising water vapor didn't have time to condense into clouds. Instead, it was directly evaporated beneath the blue moonlight. Since it couldn't condense into clouds, it naturally couldn't rain. Thus, it couldn't cause any damage to the revived great monsters. The daunting master's face suddenly flushed red. The fisherman stepped forward. "I will help you." He flicked his sleeves, and waves surged up from the black lake. A black dragon drilled out, tumbling endlessly in the lake. The waves of the black lake became even stronger. Waves crazily swept out in all directions. Suddenly, the black dragon roared and broke through the water. It rode the water vapor and flew into the skies. As the saying goes, the wind follows the tiger and the clouds follow the dragon. With the appearance of the black dragon, the clouds immediately condensed. With a loud rumble, heavy rain began to pour down. Yao Yu frowned. "Fisherman? I didn't think that an old turtle like you would still be alive." The fisherman was expressionless, but the third eye between his eyebrows began to stir. It was clear that his heart wasn't as calm as it seemed. "If your excellency Yao Yu doesn't die, how could I dare to leave first?" Yao Yu raised an eyebrow. "You're just as bold as before, unlike this toad." Apart from his tone, his courage has become even smaller. "Thank you for your praise, Your Excellency Yao Yu." The fisherman cupped his hands together and bowed. One could see the fear in his voice. And at this time, the falling rain had already covered all the rotting great monster corpses. Every drop that fell on the monster corpses was like magma. They instantly rotted away their flesh and bones, leaving behind a transparent hole. The monster corpses roared out in pain. But this pain also stimulated their anger and killing intent. They rushed forwards even faster. The patriarch stepped forwards. "Yao Yu, with just a bunch of corpses, do you think you can stop me?" Bang! Bang! Stone spikes erupted from the earth. They were like terrifying spears that drilled out from the earth, stabbing into the bodies of the revived great monsters. Sharp spikes jutted out from the middle of the stone spikes. They sank into the flesh and blood of the revived great monsters, lifting them into the air. These revived great monsters became targets. They were nailed to the ground, only able to passively withstand the onslaught of the rain. Roar! Roar! With angry roars, the monster corpses shattered the stone spikes. But before they could break free, new stone spikes would ruthlessly pierce into their bodies. They could only let the torrential rain wash over them like thorny brushes, grinding their flesh and bones into powder layer by layer. Chapter 1774. Beneath a true emperor, all of them were ants. Within the monster ancestral land, these monster corpses were extremely terrifying after they were revived and strengthened by the demonic moon. Even so, facing the attacks of 3 true emperors, they were like chickens that couldn't even withstand a single blow. But the patriarch couldn't help but frown. This was because things were far too simple. As for Moon Yaoyue and Blue God, they didn't stop them at all. They allowed them to destroy all the monster corpses. Something wasn't right. The Dongting Lord laughed. A bunch of dead things dare to act so arrogantly in front of the Saint race? Destroy them all. His face was filled with joy. The monster race had always been the servants of the Saint race. But as a dignified, true emperor, he actually trembled in fear in front of Moon Yaoyue. This was a great humiliation. Today, he would kill Moon Yaoyue and destroy the foundation of the monster race. Bang! Bang! Monster corpses fell to the ground one by one. Their bodies shattered and disintegrated into countless fragments. Moon Yaoyue lifted a hand and pointed at the blue demonic moon above her head. "Daunting Lord, don't worry. The show has only just begun." In the center of the blue demonic moon, a dark red color suddenly appeared. It was extremely rich and red. It instantly spread out and dyed the entire demonic moon. Blood covered the earth. On the ground, a thick layer of demonic corpse fragments stacked on top of each other began to squirm and grow together in the blood-red light. Soon, they grew into an incomparably fierce monster that was thousands of feet tall. Roar! It reared its head back and roared. The patriarch's pupils shrank, and he had a dignified expression. At this time, he actually felt a trace of threat from this monster corpse that was pieced together from monster corpse fragments. Moon Yaoyue coldly sneered. Spectral heavenly monster, kill them. Roar! The sky demon of the dead roared and charged at the master of the Dongting cave and the fisherman. It spread its arms and summoned endless demonic power and the aura of death that rumbled like a flood. It covered the heavens and earth as it came crashing down. Shua! Blue God's figure landed in front of the patriarch. He flicked his sleeves, and blue energy erupted. As for Moon Yaoyue, her eyes fell on Qinyu. Emperor Realm, Sword Cultivator? You hid well, but this is the monster ancestral land. I can see everything. She coldly sneered. You want to sneak attack me? I'll kill you first. Bang! Her figure disappeared in an instant. Qinyu raised his hand, and the mountain river sword slashed down. In the next instant, a terrifying explosion erupted. Yaoyu appeared and dodged the sword aura. Too slow. Although your sword is sharp, it's useless if it can't touch me. Moon Fiend raised his hand and waved it in front of him. Shua! She and Qinyu vanished from sight. The patriarch panicked. Their plan had surpassed their expectations. Moon Fiend had sensed Qinyu's strength and had chosen to attack him first. Once Qinyu was killed, today's matters would no longer be possible. Get out of my way. With a roar, the clan leader punched out. The green deity was like a shadow, constantly flashing and disappearing. It did not confront him head-on at all, choosing to entangle him so that he would not be able to escape. That, without a doubt, caused the clan chief to be even more certain of his guess, and he became even more anxious. The master of Dongting, the fisherman, attack with everything you have and don't hold anything back. If anything happens to Qinyu, neither you nor I will be able to escape unscathed. Even though the four true emperors had joined hands, they were at a disadvantage right from the start. This sudden turn of events had caught them completely off guard. In particular, this undead heavenly monster was formed from the flesh and blood of an inanimate object. It had no intelligence and was intrepid. It feared death, and its strength was terrifying. Its frenzied attacks had actually managed to stall the master of Dongting and the fisherman. The fisherman took a deep breath. The patriarch is right. You and I will join forces to suppress the monster race first. Everything else can be discussed later. Okay. The master of Dongting clenched his teeth. Bang! The two ancient true emperors erupted with their complete strength. The entire Black Lake soared into the skies and fused into the Black Dragon's body. Its massive body instantly solidified as if it were a living creature. With a loud roar, the Black Dragon rushed out, fighting with the undead heavenly monster. But in reality, Moon Fiend and Qinyu's current situation was completely different from what they had imagined. The massive palace was filled with a grand momentum. Moon Fiend sat in the master's seat, a lazy expression on her face. Qinyu, you've come to my monster race. How is your plan going? As she spoke, she casually patted a trembling cow beneath her feet. Qinyu said, Don't worry, I've already made my preparations. Moon Fiend, I will need you to make a move and keep that patriarch here. Of course. A cold light flashed in Moon Fiend's eyes. Since you intruded into my monster race's ancestral land, you can forget about leaving. The little cow, who was already trembling in fear, fell to its knees with a thud. Moon Fiend frowned and looked over. The cow trembled. It looked up in panic and suddenly saw Qinyu. In the next moment, it froze. Its teary eyes stared straight at him. It was unknown where the strength and courage came from, but the cow suddenly rushed out, running straight towards Qinyu. Moo, moo. Its cry was filled with anger. Qinyu frowned. He didn't know what had happened to this weak yellow cow monster that had dared to be so insolent towards him. His figure flickered, and he directly dodged, grabbing its horns. The little yellow cow was still roaring angrily. Its hooves were constantly kicking the ground with all its might. Moon Fiend, what's wrong with it? But there was no answer to this question. Chinyu turned his head and saw that Moon Fiend was staring at him, her eyes frightening. It was as if she had crossed 1,000 mountains and rivers, pierced through the heavens and earth, and finally found her. "You've seen him." Shua. Moon Fiend's figure appeared in front of Chinyu. At this moment, her expression was extremely complex. There was excitement, there was resentment, there was joy, there was killing intent. Chinyu took a step back. He said in a low voice, "Moon Fiend, what is the meaning of this?" Moon Fiend took a deep breath and said, "Chinyu, I want to ask you something. Answer me honestly, otherwise don't blame me for falling out with you." "What is it?" This yellow cow monster said that it was someone with you who sent it into the monster pool to reincarnate, right? Chinyu revealed a look of surprise. He glanced at the struggling cow he had grabbed by its horns. He suddenly understood why this little thing had gone crazy the moment it saw him. It was it. After hesitating for a moment, Chinyu nodded. He could tell from Moon Fiend's attitude that while he didn't understand the cow's roars, Moon Fiend clearly did. If he denied this, she would definitely flip out on the spot. "Where is he?" Moon Fiend anxiously asked. Chinyu's thoughts raced. Misty had arrived in the central wilderness a long time ago. He knew this. For instance, Niu Ding Tian, the fisherman outside, and even Zhang Huan of a mortal-seeking tower were all old acquaintances of hers. And this Moon Fiend in front of him was also one of them. However, looking at the complex expression on Moon Fiend's face, Chinyu wasn't sure what their relationship was. Good sister? It didn't seem like it. If, because of Misty, he provoked an old enemy, then that would be a joke. That would be a big problem. If Moon Fiend turned hostile, then it would be extremely troublesome for him. "Hurry up and speak. Where is he?" Moon Fiend clenched her jaws. Chinyu lifted a hand. Calm down, calm down. I'm not familiar with him. We only walked together for a while, and then he suddenly left. Now, I have no idea where he went. In a situation where he couldn't figure out the truth, he definitely couldn't speak the truth. Moon Fiend frowned. He suddenly left. Her expression suddenly twisted. That's right, this is his personality. He is extremely irresponsible, coming and going as he pleases. That bastard. Chinyu, why did he feel that there was something wrong with these words? He carefully looked at Moon Fiend. She was gasping for breath and clenching her jaws, as if she had been abandoned. No, that wasn't right. Misty was a woman, and Moon Fiend was also a woman. The two of them didn't match. Could they be lesbians? Hiss, Chinyu sucked in a breath of cold air. He suddenly thought of Baiji. Could that woman have sensed that Misty had an abnormal aura? Was that why she was so bold and dared to have thoughts about her that she shouldn't have? How shocking. Cough. Moon Fiend, you also know him? Moon Fiend sneered. Of course I know him. He is the infamous Heavenly Monster King. In the past, even the ancient people had to give way to him. He has captured the hearts of countless female cultivators in the world. How could I not know such a great character? Cough, cough, cough. Chinyu violently coughed. It wasn't because of the name Heavenly Monster King, but because the words captured the hearts of countless female cultivators were far too shocking. Misty, was he really that sort of person? Moreover, he was a porcelain version of a womanizer? Luckily, he hadn't spoken the truth just now. Otherwise, looking at Moon Fiend, he would have known that she was one of the women he had heard in the past. He, a woman that turned love into hate, was the most terrifying and ruthless. He absolutely could not admit to his relationship with Misty, not even a single word about it. Otherwise, he would definitely be implicated by her. Misty, you're really something. Chinyu, racked my brains, but never would I have imagined that you were such a person. Moon Fiend frowned, her eyes icy cold. Do you have a different opinion? Chinyu quickly shook his head, decisively saying no. He angrily said, what I hate the most in my life are those people who abandon me after using me. They are truly despicable. Moon Fiend nodded. You're right. But soon, she frowned. Chinyu, you aren't lying to me? He really left? He really left. I swear that I absolutely didn't lie to you. Chinyu solemnly said, Moon Fiend, don't worry. If I ever see him again in the future, I will definitely tell you. Moon Fiend said, Then I must thank Sect Master Qin. It's only right. Qin Yu lowered his head. He glanced at the little yellow cow and quickly changed the topic. Is this the yellow cow monster that was sent into the monster pool? How did it end up in such a situation now? Moonfiend lightly said, once the seal in the monster pool is broken, the monster pool will inevitably be destroyed, and it can only be reborn ahead of schedule. It can already be considered lucky to retain its memories of its past life. As for things like cultivation talent, it shouldn't be too extravagant. The little yellow cow's eyes were wet with tears. It glared at Qin Yu and roared again and again. Moo moo, you bastards! This is all your fault. Otherwise, how could I have fallen to such a state? Qin Yu revealed an awkward expression. After all, he had also participated in this matter. He thought for a moment and said, I'm sorry, I didn't know that things would develop to this point. But don't worry, I will compensate you in the future and help you restore your cultivation. The little yellow cow continued to struggle. Moonfiend glanced at it. This fellow immediately gave up. Chapter 1775. Moonfiend said, Sect Master Qin doesn't need to interfere with Yellow Ox's cultivation. I'm prepared to make him my mount, so I'll help him out a little. Qin Yu nodded. To be able to be taken in as a mount by Moonfiend is also a good fortune. He let go of the bullhorn and looked around. Where's this place? Sky Demon Temple. Yaoyue coldly smiled. In the past, the place he founded was also the most glorious era of my monster race. Qin Yu's eyes suddenly stopped on a mural. He saw Yaoyue's figure. Next to Yaoyue, the person who seemed to be very close to her was actually a man. He had starry eyebrows and sword-like eyes. So handsome. That is Moonfiend frowned. He looked at Qin Yu and said, You travel with him for some time, and yet you don't know him? It was like a bolt of lightning had struck him in the head. His entire body stiffened. Meaty. He was meaty. How is this possible? Ah, it's this mural. I can't see it clearly. Qin Yu covered up his loss of composure, his thoughts still in a knot. Who could tell him what was going on? Man? Woman? He was a little confused. Moonfiend suspiciously looked at Qin Yu. After not finding anything, he frowned and said, All right, let's not talk about him for now. Let's get down to business first. Qin Yu took a deep breath. Let's get down to business first. He said, In a moment, I will suddenly make a move and launch a sneak attack on that clan leader. I will cooperate with you and kill him here. Moonfiend said, Sure. She stood up. It's about time. Let's go. All right. Qin Yu reached out a hand and patted the little yellow cow. Brother Yellow Cow, farewell. At the same time, a voice rang in the yellow bull demon's heart. Don't say anything that you shouldn't, or I'll stew you. As for the matter of little Meaty, it was best to wait until later. If he made it clear now, who knew whether or not Fiendish Moon would go crazy? The next moment, in the depths of the demon race's ancestral grounds. Bang! Space shattered as a monstrous sword aura erupted. What accompanied it was Yaoyue's cold voice. As expected of a sword cultivator of the true Emperor realm, you are indeed difficult to kill. But today, you will not be able to escape. She appeared and raised her hand. Bang! The phantom of the mountain suddenly appeared, suppressing Qin Yu within. A sword chime erupted, and the mountain river sword slashed out brazenly. A terrifying sword aura pierced through heaven and earth. In an instant, it collided with the shadow of the mountain, causing a deafening explosion. Patriarch, help me! Qin Yu clenched his teeth and shouted. The clan leader raised his hand and punched out, temporarily forcing Qin Shin back. Shua, his figure flashed, and he appeared beside Qin Yu. Sect Master Qin. Before he could finish, the clan chief's eyes widened, and his face was filled with anger. In front of him, a terrifying sword aura erupted in an instant. Without the slightest hesitation, it went straight for his head. Qin Yu, with a furious roar, the clan chief hastily made a move to block. Bang! Like a boulder, he was sent flying. As he tumbled, blood sprayed everywhere. Caught off guard, he took Qin Yu's sword head on. If not for the fact that the clan leader was an Emperor Realm expert, he would have been severely injured at the very least. However, before the clan leader could even catch his breath, the space around him shattered and Yayua punched out. Bang! The clan leader was sent flying by the attack. The situation had suddenly changed. The two ancient true emperors who had already gained the upper hand in the battle against the sky demon. The expressions of the daunting lord and the fisherman changed. Shwa, shwa. Without hesitation, the two retreated at the same time. At this moment, Qing Shun's figure quietly appeared behind the clan leader. She raised her arms, and a green aura filled her body. However, at this moment, her expression changed slightly. Without hesitation, she stopped and disappeared. In the next moment, a dazzling golden light erupted and slashed at Qing Shun. The clan leader finally stopped and got a chance to catch his breath. In his hand, he held a golden longsword. A terrifying aura surged out from his sword. His eyes were filled with hatred as he locked onto Qinyu. Sect Master Qin, why? Qinyu was expressionless. Because I want you dead. The clan leader's expression was ferocious as he roared. Kill me? You're courting death. He raised his hand and clenched it. But in the end, nothing happened. Qinyu was still standing in front of him, safe and sound. The clan leader's complexion became increasingly ugly. The remnant body of a long-lived being is truly terrifying. It was actually able to dissolve all the cards I left on your body. He looked up and swept his eyes over everyone. You didn't hear wrong. Qinyu does indeed have the remnant body of a long-lived being on his body. That is why he was able to obtain his current strength in such a short period of time. Moonfiend, I am willing to give up on my plan for the monster pond as long as you are willing to join forces with me to kill Qinyu. Moonfiend shook his head. I do not believe someone who goes back on their word. The clan leader laughed, his voice billowing out like waves. It looks like the two of you have already colluded with each other to set up this trap to keep me here. He raised the golden sword in his hand. But I will not be so easily killed by you. After all, in this world, you aren't the only ones with cards up your sleeves. Bang! The golden sword fiercely slashed out. However, this sword didn't attack anyone. It cut straight into the heavens. Moonfiend's complexion changed. Lord Imperial Scholar, are you still not going to attack? The clan leader shouted. Shwa, the figure of a Taoist appeared in front of everyone through the crack that had been created by the golden sword. This was the great Qin Imperial Scholar. He faintly smiled and cupped his hands together. Thank you, Patriarch. He looked up at Qinyu and said, Sect Master Qin, your cooperation with my great Qin doesn't seem sincere. So, I ask you not to take offense. I have made some other preparations. Qinyu's heart sank. The appearance of the great Qin Imperial Scholar was beyond his expectations. But since things had come to this, he could only face it. Imperial Scholar, you want to save that clan leader? Don't forget, dealing with that clan is the will of His Majesty, the Qin Empire's Emperor. The Imperial Scholar smiled and shook his head. I thank Sect Master Qin for the reminder. I naturally will not go against His Majesty's will. I will not save that clan leader, nor do I have any intention of fighting over the remnant body of a long-lived being. He turned and looked at the incomparably massive spectral heavenly monster. His eyes shined. My goal is that. Moonfiend stepped forward. Imperial Scholar, it seems you haven't asked for my opinion. A terrifying aura was released from her body. The Imperial Scholar smiled. If I were Moonfiend, I wouldn't have chosen to force my hand at this moment. Otherwise, who knows what the outcome would have been today. Moonfiend coldly coughed, but didn't speak. The current situation was extremely delicate. If the Imperial Scholar didn't intervene, then that clan leader would inevitably find it difficult to escape calamity. But if he did intervene, then, with the Imperial Scholar's strength, it wouldn't be difficult for him to resist Moonfiend. At that time, even if Qinyu betrayed them, the monster race wouldn't hold the advantage. That clan leader wasn't someone to be trifled with. Moreover, the golden sword he summoned was terrifyingly strong. Qinyu suddenly said, Moonfiend, make your move. Today he could not retreat. Otherwise, if the Imperial Scholar really succeeded, what could he do if he went back on his word? Since he had already made his move, he could only follow this path to the end. Moon Fiend coldly sneered. Good. Then let me experience the Imperial Scholar's strength and see whether or not it has increased in these past years. The Imperial Scholar lightly sighed. Today's matter wasn't what I wanted. Whatever, let's fight. Bang! The two true sovereigns instantly collided. This time, it wasn't an act. Moon Fiend attacked with everything he had. But the Imperial Scholar was truly worthy of being called the only existence under the heavens that could face Emperor Qin and protect himself. His strength was terrifying to the extreme. In particular, as he attacked, chilling winds began to stir up between the heavens and earth. Faint traces of gray fog began to appear in the air. Roar, roar. The spectral heavenly monster roared again and again, restless and restless. Qin Yu, the clan leader, let out a furious roar and charged forward. Bang! The golden sword cut down. Qin Yu was expressionless. He slashed out with a mountain and river sword, not taking a single step back. Bang! The two peerless divine weapons collided. With a stuffy cough, Qin Yu stormed backwards. In this frontal collision, he had fallen into a disadvantage. But at this time, the clan leader revealed a look of shock and anger. You haven't broken into the true, sovereign realm. Qin Yu said, That's right. The patriarch's pupil shrank. He thought back to Qin Yu's performance at Azure Dragon Mountain. With a single thought, he could travel 10,000 miles in an instant. That was the true ability of a true sovereign. If it weren't for this, the clan leader wouldn't have so easily believed his words. But now, the truth was that Qin Yu hadn't broken through. Then how'd he do it? The clan leader suddenly recalled what had happened in the ancestral temple. The bronze bell had shattered, the ancient scholar tree had withered, the memorial tablet had cracked open and bled. His eyes widened as he stubbornly stared at Qin Yu. Great waves rose in his heart. Just who are you? Qin Yu was silent for a moment. He raised the sword in his hand. Someone who wants to collect a debt from you. He took a step forward. At this moment, his aura suddenly changed. It was like some strength from the outside world had instantly poured into his body. Although Qin Yu's aura hadn't changed, the feeling he gave off was different. If it were anyone else, they might not have been able to immediately sense it. However, to the clan leader, this scene was like a bolt from the blue that heavily struck his heart. His eyes reddened in a flash. The destiny of the world. This was the destiny of the world. The clan leader finally understood why all sorts of terrifying omens had appeared in the ancestral temple. So it turned out that Qin Yu had already quietly seized the foundation of that clan, without them noticing at all. What made his chest feel like it was on fire, making him feel an unbearable pain, was that he had personally brought Qin Yu back to his heavenly passage world and sent him to Azure Dragon Mountain. He originally thought that he was the one controlling everything and turning Qin Yu into a chess piece in his hands. But the reality was a heavy slap to the clan leader's face. And once they lost their status as the spirit of the world's destiny, the fate of that clan could be imagined. Qin Yu, the clan leader roared, his killing intent nearly tangible. I will kill you. Bang! The clan leader rushed out. The golden sword in his hand erupted with a dazzling light, like a great golden sun. Across from him, Qin Yu had a calm expression. Then today, you and I will fight to the death. I will live and you will die. As his words fell, he took a step forwards. The mountain and river sword pierced through the world. Chapter 1776. In terms of cultivation, the Imperial Advisor and Yao Yu were undoubtedly the strongest. But as they fought, the most brutal ones were undoubtedly Qin Yu and the Patriarch. Both sides were truly bloodshot. They were determined to kill each other at all costs. This kind of ruthlessness of abandoning everything and putting oneself in a dead end caused everyone to raise their eyebrows. The Imperial Scholar frowned. His eyes fell on Qin Yu, a dignified expression on his face. He had already sensed something, a new spirit of providence. To be honest, this was out of the Imperial Tutor's expectations. But there was one thing without a doubt. That clan was finished. This was very good, because the eradication of that clan was originally carried out by the Imperial Preceptor in accordance with His Majesty's wishes to take action to get rid of this scourge. Great Qin did not want to see a sword cultivator become a new heaven and earth fate spirit. This was especially so since this sword cultivator did not have a close relationship with Great Qin. Moon Fiend said, "State Preceptor, you dare to be distracted while fighting with me? You are truly arrogant." She was smiling, but her eyes were icy cold. "It seems that when I slumbered, the powerhouses of this world have already forgotten what awe is." Boom within Yao Yu's body. Flames instantly gushed out, wrapping her within. Crimson like blood. The Imperial Preceptor's expression changed slightly. He raised his hand and made a pulling motion. The space immediately shattered, and countless gray, deathly auras surged out, turning into a surging river. The mist roiled violently as numerous human faces appeared one after another. They howled and howled miserably, and their voices were sharp like iron nails that pierced into one's mind. In the next moment, Moon Fiend took a step forward and charged into the river of death aura. Rumble blood-colored flames were burning, and earth-shattering explosions rang out continuously. The entire river of death energy was boiling. Deity Qing took a step forward and landed on the head of the undead sky demon. He stared coldly at the master of the daunting lake and the fisherman. Roar the heavenly undead demon roared and charged out. With the help of the Azure deity, its ferocious aura grew even stronger. 4 versus 4. Both sides were evenly matched, and the battle had reached its climax. That clan, Grotto Heaven's secret realm. Just as 327 was cultivating, she suddenly felt her heart palpitate. It felt as if the sky above them had completely collapsed at this moment. Swish, she abruptly stood up and rushed out of the courtyard. When she looked up, she saw an extremely terrifying scene. The sky was really broken. Then the entire Mount Azure Dragon began to shake violently, as if a cow was turning over. Rumble. The mountain shattered, and huge rocks tumbled everywhere. Mount Azure Dragon, which was originally like a fairyland, turned into a mess in the blink of an eye. The shocked and enraged roars of the cultivators of that race could be heard everywhere. One by one, the elders of the clan disregarded the rules and flew into the air. Their faces instantly turned pale, because Dragonhead Mountain had collapsed. Mountain's Ansoff of a clan. The destiny of heaven and earth had changed owners. One of the clan elders howled miserably. Why? Qin God. Blood, tears of clan of. Elder of Pan. Dragon where the clan was heard. Came of the roof, the of the person. Patra was Patrioff the U of the of clan of the next was of. People rushed. Hi. Other UU, clan of Chun. He see water pool, all the water was evaporating and disappearing. That clan's cultivator, who was currently reviving, released a miserable howl, feeling extreme despair. One of them had already fully condensed his physical body, and he flew out of the pool of rebirth with all his might. But before he could show any joy on his face, he fell into endless fear. In front of everyone's eyes, this cultivator's body melted and festered like a candle. Elder, save me. Elder, save me. He howled mournfully. In the blink of an eye, he had turned into a pile of minced meat. The scene caused all the elders to feel as if they had fallen into an icy pit. 327 bit his lips, his face pale, and his vision turning black. There was no reason, but his intuition told him that the one who did all of this was Qinyu, and she was undoubtedly the one who had helped Qinyu. In other words, she had single-handedly caused that clan to fall into such a state. That clan leader was as crazy as a devil. He had already sensed what was happening in the world of the heavenly passage. His eyes were bloodshot. Qinyu, Qinyu, Qinyu. Every time he roared, he would strike with his sword. His terrifying aura covered the heavens and earth. Qinyu was at a disadvantage, but his expression was calm and his eyes were firm and tenacious, without the least bit of fear. This was because that clan had already reached the end of their road. They would soon fall into the abyss of destruction. As for him, he was like a rising sun. A steady stream of heaven and earth destiny was gathering towards him, pouring into his body. On the other hand, the power of the clan's clan chief was being continuously extracted and stripped away. As long as he could withstand the counterattack of the patriarch, he would be able to laugh until the end. The patriarch gradually fell into despair. If he couldn't kill Chinyu, it would be hard for him to escape death. Bang! With a heavy sword strike, Chinyu was forced back once more. The patriarch didn't continue attacking. He turned and fell to his knees, roaring into the heavens. "My lord, my clan has fallen into a hopeless situation. I implore you to help and save the fate of my clan." Deep underground, magma boiled. A divine palace stood within. Shua, the master of the divine palace, opened his eyes. They were narrow and beautiful, as if they reflected the endless galaxy. But now his eyes were icy cold, without the least bit of emotion. The extremely hot, burning magma and the cold, eerie eyes formed a sharp and intense contrast between the two. She stood up. Boom! Magma shot into the sky. The entire earth shook violently. Deep rumbling sounds came from all directions. It was as if the world was about to collapse and shatter. At this moment, the master of the divine palace frowned and looked up. Crack! Crack! Illusory chains appeared in the magma, sealing the divine palace within. "The time has not come." An indifferent voice sounded from within the divine palace. The master of the divine palace frowned even more. But in the end, she stopped and continued to leave. She closed her eyes and sat down again. The rumbling sounds disappeared. The lake of magma, hidden deep underground, gradually returned to silence. As the patriarch knelt to the ground and roared, Qin Yu's heart violently shrank. He was filled with great fear. Bai Feifei's scream suddenly rang out. "Damn it, Qin Yu, you bastard! Just how many more secrets do you have?" At this moment, even though she was a long-lived species, she still felt fear. Taking a deep breath, Qin Yu said in his heart, "Bai Feifei, I don't know either. What did you feel? Hurry up and tell me." Bai Feifei was furious. "You're dead. You're definitely dead." Because if she was not wrong, that was the aura of a blazing sun. As a long-lived species, she already had the qualifications to come into contact with a blazing sun. But she had never imagined that one day she would actually stand against such an existence. A blazing sun. That was a blazing sun, illuminating the heavens and the earth. With a single thought, it could destroy the world. It was a true, eternal existence that could not be provoked. It was above all things, the maker and controller of all rules and order. Bai Feifei regretted walking together with Qin Yu. So what if she had fallen out with Misty in sore prison? Now it was too late, because just now, the blazing sun's aura had descended. It must have remembered her. Bai Feifei wanted to cry. That's right, long-lived species could not be killed. This was the recognition of heaven and earth. But not dying did not mean being alive. The blazing sun had 10,000 ways to make her fall into a half-dead, half-alive state. She would have to suffer endless pain and suffering. Qin Yu could feel Bai Feifei's fear and despair. It would be a lie to say that he was not affected. He was also panicking, but panicking was definitely of no help. "Shut up," Qin Yu roared. "No matter what it is, it won't be easy to kill me." He took a deep breath and raised the mountain river sword. "I, Qin Yu, am right here." A roar came from his mouth. At this moment, the slaughter in the demon race's ancestral land had already stopped, because just now, all of them had clearly felt the terrifying aura emanating from Qin Yu's body. It disappeared in a flash, but it was high above, overlooking all of them. A single thought could decide life and death. The clan leader's eyes widened, filled with excitement and ecstasy. Her Excellency had responded. She had finally responded. Our race can still be saved. But very quickly, this ecstasy was like frost under the blazing sun, quickly melting away. Because Qin Yu was still fine. There was nothing wrong with him. As for the aura that had descended earlier, it had already disappeared. What did this mean? Could it be that Her Excellency had chosen to abandon that race? No, the clan leader roared. Her Excellency, you can't do this. There was no response. His heart gradually sank to the bottom of the valley. The imperial tutor looked at the clan leader, who was currently in despair, his expression extremely grave. He had long known that the White Jade Capital was connected to the legendary White Jade Capital. And today, in this desperate situation, the lord that the clan leader had summoned was very likely from the White Jade Capital. That aura just now, the imperial tutor had only sensed a little, but he could not help but feel his heart palpitate. The long-lived species. No, even stronger. The imperial tutor's heart was beating violently. He had finally confirmed one thing. The White Jade Capital was indeed related to the high and mighty blazing sun. His Majesty's patience and judgment were not wrong. The White Jade Capital must not be touched. Anyone who dared to touch it would be courting death. Qin Yu stood with his sword in hand. His clothes were already soaked in sweat. Not afraid? How could he not be afraid? Bai Feifei was a long-lived species. Just a little aura was enough to make her despair and fear. How powerful was that existence? Even a fool would know that to kill Qin Yu, all it would take was a thought or a glance. A blazing sun. It must be a blazing sun, other than such an existence. Qin Yu could not imagine who else could possess such terrifying power. That race was actually related to the blazing sun. This caused Qin Yu's heart to tremble and feel a deep sense of dread. Although he did not know why that existence that was related to the blazing sun had not truly made a move today. But the descent of the other party's aura was already a declaration. If Qin Yu destroyed that race, he would undoubtedly be declaring himself an enemy. To be enemies with an existence of unknown origin that was clearly related to the blazing sun. Just the thought of this made one tremble in fear. Qin Yu, the clan leader, suddenly roared. You dare to kill me? You dare to destroy that race. Her Excellency will definitely not let you off. He stood up, golden sword in hand. The identity of the spirit of destiny was tacitly granted to my race by Her Excellency. If you dare to take it away, your crime cannot be forgiven. Now, return the identity of the spirit of destiny, and I can plead with Her Excellency to spare your life. Otherwise, even if you run to the ends of the earth, no matter where you flee to, you will die. Your body and soul will be destroyed, and you will never be able to reincarnate. Qin Yu lowered his head and said nothing. Chapter 1777. Moonfiend suddenly said, Qin Yu, let him go. Right now, her heart was shaken to the extreme. It was because she was Yao Yu, and the great Tao involved the existence of the moon between heaven and earth. Therefore, Yao Yu could clearly feel the aura of the blazing sun. The kind of power, that kind of extinction, made fiendish moon not dare to offend it in the slightest. Once they were remembered by such a great existence, the only outcome would be destruction. Imperial Preceptor said, Sect Master Qin, it's not too late to rein in the horse before it's too late. That clan has the Tongtian Mountain behind them. Don't seek your own destruction. Hand over the karmic luck that you control and offer a humble apology to that clan. Perhaps you'll have a chance to live. At this moment, he chose to express his goodwill. That clan actually had the shadow of a blazing sun behind them. Even if it was just a possibility, the Imperial Preceptor could not take the risk, and His Majesty would definitely approve of his decision. Ha ha! Qin Yu, no matter how many tricks you have, what can you do? The Lord of Daunting laughed. In the end, you still have to bow your head and admit defeat. He stepped forwards and cupped his hands together. Patriarch, starting from today, the saints will make clear our stance. We will stand behind that race and join hands with you to advance and retreat together. The fisherman didn't say anything. He looked at Qin Yu with a look of pity in his eyes. Qin Yu was truly worthy of being an existence chosen by that being. He was actually able to snatch away that race's status as the world's destiny spirit and force it into a desperate situation. Only it was a pity that that clan was just too terrifying actually having such a backer behind them. He could only lower his head and admit defeat. Otherwise, he would definitely die. All eyes turned to Chinyu. He lowered his head, silent. Suddenly, Qing Shin frowned. Her eyes widened in shock. This was because Chinyu had expressed his position. He raised his head, looked at the clan leader, and raised the mountain river sword in his hand. So what? This was Chinyu's answer. So what if it was a blazing sun? Just as he had said before, there was no way he would retreat today. Otherwise, so what if he was greedy for life? Did it look like a dog? Then what was the point of cultivating with all his might, walking step by step to where he was today, finding the 327, and finally reaching the final step of his path of vengeance? Even ants struggled to live, much less great cultivators who possessed world-shaking cultivation. But living was not just for the sake of living. Endure humiliation in order to survive, compromise, and treat himself as a dog? He didn't want to live like this. He raised his hand and clenched it. Boom, the golden sword erupted with resplendent golden light like a great sun, instantly submerging the clan leader and forcefully suppressing him. His eyes widened and his face filled with anger and disbelief. Chinyu, you will definitely die. Everyone around you will be buried with you. The golden light sword was a treasure of heaven and earth. It was wielded by the spirit of fate and was a gift from heaven and earth. From this moment on, it belonged to Chinyu and was naturally under his control. Stepping forward, Chinyu's expression was calm. He lifted the mountain and river sword and thrust out. You die first. Puff the mountain river sword pierced through the golden light and tore the heart of the clan leader. At this moment, the world was deathly silent. Within the golden light, the clan leader was like a shadow that shattered and dissipated. This wasn't true. After Chinyu became the world's destiny spirit, he had become so powerful that he could casually kill a true sovereign. Instead, it was after that clan's status as the world's luck spirit was forcibly stripped away. As the clan leader, he suffered the most intense backlash, and his foundation was already injured. Due to the label of the karmic spirits of heaven and earth, that race had obtained the blessing of the heavens and earth, or in other words, the curse of the heavens and earth. They were undying and nearly eternal, but they had to pay a price for this. Otherwise, there would be nothing left. Curse once said, this was the root cause of the clan leader's death today. But no matter what, he was dead. This meant that all the ambitions and sins of that clan over the endless years had turned into bubbles. What awaited them was the end of their fate, elimination. Chinyu silently sheathed his sword. He took a deep breath and turned around. Go! The fisherman didn't hesitate. He reached out and grabbed the master of the cave. Shua! The two ancient true sovereigns directly fled. The clan leader had been killed and the balance had been broken. If they continued to stay, all that awaited them was death. Chinyu had even dared to kill that patriarch, much less them. The imperial scholar deeply looked at Chinyu. He cupped his hands together and said, Sect Master Qin's decisiveness in killing is admirable. He turned and left. Today's situation had been broken. As for the seal within the demon pool, he wasn't interested in it. The karma of heavenly retribution was too great and too terrifying. The great Qin Empire didn't want to be tainted by it at all. As for Chinyu, he was doomed. It was only a matter of time before he died. There was no chance he would become a hidden threat to the great Qin Empire. Moon Fiend shook his head. Chinyu, you are too impulsive. The monster race cannot help you in this matter. Chinyu said, Don't worry. I will bear all the consequences of the people I kill. His expression was calm. But, with things having come this far, Moon Fiend, are you still willing to fulfill the agreement between us? Moon Fiend said, Of course. I'm a man of my word. He simply replied. In truth, Moon Fiend was well aware that the secret of the demon pool would inevitably spread out after today. If he continued to keep it, it would only be a source of disaster. He might as well abandon it. That's good. Chinyu nodded. But right now, we are not in a hurry. I would like to rest for a bit. Moon Fiend said, Of course. When we start is up to you. Thank you. Schwa. Moonfiend took a step forwards and vanished from sight. Roar. With a low roar, the gigantic undead sky fiend burrowed deep into the earth with a loud rumble and went to sleep. Blue deity walked over. Secmaster Qin, please follow me. Qin Yu cupped his hands together. Thank you for your trouble. An hour later, in a mansion in Heaven Devil City. According to his request, besides Qin Yu, there were no other monsters here. The mountain and river sword appeared. An invisible sword aura spread out, instantly covering the entire mansion. Qin Yu took a deep breath. By Fei Fei, there was no response. Qin Yu was expressionless. Whether you admit it or not, ever since Sword Prison, you and I have become inseparable. Shut up. You shut up. Bai Fei Fei screamed, herself hoarse. Qin Yu sneered. Whether I say it or not, it won't change anything. But Bai Fei Fei, remember, if something happens to me, you will not be able to escape. Qin Yu. Bai Fei Fei screamed. You are a jinx. I have lived for so many years, and even when I was punished by the heavens, I did not die. But this time, I will die because of you. Qin Yu said, Isn't it just the aura of a blazing sun? What are you afraid of? Moreover, it wasn't the blazing sun himself that did it. Otherwise, we would already be dead. Bai Fei Fei quieted down. After several breaths of time, she asked, Qin Yu, just who are you? Back in the Void Realm, when Qin Yu killed Venerable Skypillar, the flesh was still in his body, suppressing Bai Fei Fei into a deep slumber. Thus, she did not know the secret of the little blue lamp. Bai Fei Fei was naturally shocked. It had to be known that only those with long lives had the qualifications to know about the existence of blazing suns. The reason the imperial advisor of the Great Qin Empire knew this was because the Great Qin Empire was tyrannical, and it was the true ruler of this world. Thus, he was able to lock onto some clues. Right now, Qin Yu was not even in the Emperor realm, so how could he know about blazing suns? And most importantly, Qin Yu's current tone. When he mentioned blazing suns, there was caution and dread, but not fear. In fact, Bai Fei Fei could even sense something called calmness in his tone. Crazy. He must be crazy. Qin Yu thought for a moment, then said, Not long before I killed that clan leader, I more or less found out who I am. But this is not important, and it may not be the true answer. Taking a deep breath, Qin Yu slowly exhaled, his tone sonorous. What's important is that I don't think I'm dead for sure. So what if you're a blazing sun? Bai Fei Fei sneered. When I saw you, I finally understood what it means to be ignorant and fearless. No matter where you heard about blazing suns, I'll tell you that even those with long lives can't withstand a single blow from a blazing sun. In fact, the world you live in right now is nothing more than a rock to a blazing sun. It can crush you with a wave of its hand. So what? Qin Yu, out of all the people I've met in all these years, you're the one with the most arrogant tone. Meeting you is really my 8 lifetimes worth of bad luck. Blazing suns are the heavens. They are the rules and order. They stand above all other existences. Qin Yu said, Is that so? Then don't resist. Follow my will and sense it. He lifted his left hand and touched the space between his eyebrows. Bai Fei Fei sneered. Sense? Sense what? Was it a hammer? Qin Yu, that bastard. Even at a time like this, he was still deliberately mystifying things. Could it be that he's scared silly? No, I have to think of a way to cut ties with him as soon as possible. In fact, Bai Fei Fei had already thought it through. Even if she had to give up her hand and let her body fall from its perfect state, she would not allow herself to have anything to do with Qin Yu. Right now, this brat was a calamity that would destroy everything. Whoever dares to be with him will be finished. Before she could finish her thoughts, Bai Fei Fei, who was secretly cursing, suddenly froze. She felt as if she had vaguely sensed something. It was as if, far away, a speck of light had suddenly appeared in the darkness. Subconsciously holding her breath, Bai Fei Fei gathered her thoughts and released all her senses towards the speck of light. Finally, she clearly saw what she had sensed, a great sun. That's right, in the darkness, far away, a great sun was burning fiercely. It existed between heaven and earth, illuminating a part of the world. It represented supreme power. Bai Feifei's consciousness was like a rock, frozen in place. This is impossible. Absolutely impossible. Bai Feifei's mind rumbled like the roar of the sea, setting off raging waves. Just then, Qin Yu's calm voice sounded beside her ear. Bai Feifei, do you think I have a right to say that now? Swish. Bai Feifei's consciousness instantly returned to normal. Space twisted and a ball of light bloomed. A dazzling Bai Feifei appeared in front of Qin Yu. Her eyes widened and her face was full of shock. Yu. She could not say a single word no matter how hard she tried. Qin Yu let go of her and said calmly, "So what if I'm a blazing sun?" Plop. Bai Feifei collapsed to the ground. Chapter 1778. A blazing sun, a new blazing sun. Bai Feifei's lips trembled. She stared at Qin Yu. No, it's not like that. She took a deep breath. You do not control a blazing sun. Otherwise, you wouldn't only have your current cultivation. What you control is a fragment of a blazing sun. Qin Yu nodded. That's right. It seems that Bai Feifei, you really do know many things. You even know about the matter of a broken blazing sun. Right now, I indeed cannot be considered an existence that controls a blazing sun. But you must understand that my sect has such a chance. A long-lived species that have been punished by the heavens will not truly die because of the rules. But if you want to complete the fusion and resurrection, that is not a simple matter. There aren't many people that can help you, and I might be one of those few. Qin Yu lowered his head, meeting her eyes. Bai Feifei, help my sect with everything you have. I can guarantee you that once I rise and become one of the blazing suns, I will give you enough in return. Otherwise, in order to keep this a secret, I can only suppress you. Now, make your choice. Bai Feifei struggled within. Without a doubt, this was a grand gamble. If she won, her harvest would be great, but if she lost, she would be beyond redemption. She took a deep breath and looked up. Qin Yu, is Mimi's choice to help you also because of the existence of this blazing sun fragment? Qin Yu said, what do you think? Although it was a rhetorical question, in Bai Feifei's eyes, this was the answer. Otherwise, there was no way to explain why Mimi would follow at Qin Yu's side. Good. I agree to help you. Bai Feifei said. Qin Yu arched an eyebrow. Because of Mimi's decision? Bai Feifei said, that's right. She stood up. You don't know what sort of existence this Mimi you speak of is. It's true that she is a long-lived species, but she is different from the vast majority of long-lived species in this world. Even the heavens and earth fear her. In short, she chose you, so I am willing to make this gamble. At worst, I will be suppressed by a blazing sun. At most, I will live a more miserable life. Qin Yu glanced at her. Good. Bai Feifei, in the future, you will not regret the decision you made today. Bai Feifei said, I hope so. She straightened her body and solemnly bowed. My lord, from today onwards, this concubine's life and fortune are all in your hands. I only hope that my lord's wish can be fulfilled and that you can truly become an existence that controls the blazing sun and never forget the promise you made to this concubine today. This tone, this form of address, Qin Yu felt a little strange, but he could sense Bai Feifei's sincerity and determination and knew that she had made up her mind. Qin Yu said, I will never go back on my word. Bai Feifei looked up and winked at him. Your Excellency, words alone are no proof. This concubine hopes that you can give me a sense of security. As she spoke, she licked the corners of her lips and reached out a hand to pull Qin Yu. For instance, having me serve you for several days. My lord, please rest assured that I am very clean and have never been touched by anyone before. If you don't believe me, you could try it yourself. Qin Yu nearly spat out a mouthful of blood. Just a moment ago, he had been solemnly swearing his loyalty. And this is it? Bai Feifei, aren't you changing your tune a little too quickly? Slapping her hand away, Qin Yu took a step back and gritted his teeth. Bai Feifei, be serious. I don't have time to mess around with you right now. Bai Feifei looked aggrieved. This concubine isn't messing around. Everything I said is true. Your Excellency, you must believe me. Can you really try it yourself? Qin glanced at her dazzlingly white body. Then, he turned and left. I don't have time to be crazy with you. Bang. He pushed open the door and slammed it shut. Within the room, Bai Feifei's expression changed. She frowned, a thoughtful look on her face. You actually don't understand what it means for a long-lived species to offer themselves on their own initiative. You really are a virgin. Then, at this moment, Bai Feifei's thoughts raced. But in the end, she gently sighed. What Qin Yu had obtained at the beginning was indeed only a fragment of the blazing sun. But now, it had already recovered a great deal. It was nearly on the verge of possessing the rough outline of a blazing sun. Its consciousness had already awakened long ago. The chances of replacing it were minuscule. And if he revealed even the slightest bit of impropriety, there was a chance he would be thoroughly suppressed. It's too late. Bai Feifei lifted a hand and rubbed her face. She muttered, It looks like I really can only choose Qin Yu and walk down this road to the end. I can only hope that after all these years of bad luck, my luck will improve a little. Otherwise, I really will be done for. On the other side, Qin Yu circulated his energy several times before he finally calmed down. His heart raced like thunder, and he couldn't help but curse inwardly. Bai Feifei, that fox bitch. Her ability to seduce others was truly formidable. Just that tone of voice and that gaze just now was unbearable. You even said that you were very clean? That was definitely a lie. If you hadn't gone through thousands of battles, would you have been able to cultivate to the point of perfection? I just didn't want to try. I wanted to give you some face. Yes, that's what I thought. So I didn't lose face, not at all. After successfully finding a way out of this embarrassing situation, Qin Yu felt that he truly calmed down. Shua, a halo of light, appeared on the surface of his left hand. Bai Feifei's giggling voice echoed in his mind. That's right, that's right. Lord Qin, you're the most proper person. You gave me some face and didn't lust for my body at all. Then it's settled. Qin Yu stuffily coughed. He stood up and left. Bang! He pushed open the courtyard doors. Blue Deity was outside. She turned and said, Sect Master Qin, have you rested well? Qin Yu said, Take me to see Moon Fiend. Shua. Space flashed, and Moon Fiend walked out. There is no need to trouble Sect Master Qin. I'm here. Qin Yu said, It seems that Moon Fiend wants me to leave as soon as possible. Moon Fiend didn't deny this. Sect Master Qin, I just don't want the monster race to suffer an undeserved calamity. Qin Yu smiled. I can understand. Let's go. Moon Fiend flicked her sleeves, and the group vanished. When they reappeared, they were outside the monster pond. This place had long since been cleaned up. The monster pond was empty, and there was nothing to be seen. Pain flashed in Blue Deity's eyes. She had smoothly reincarnated in the monster pond, and only then was she able to smoothly break through to the sovereign realm. She naturally knew just how important the existence of the monster pond was to the monster race. Moonfiend glanced at her and patted her shoulder. If the old doesn't go, the new won't come. The monster pond is the greatest foundation of the monster race, but it is also a kind of shackle. It causes the great monsters to always have a sliver of hope in their hearts, causing them to lose the will to cut off all means of retreat. Just like that race. Although they seem undying and indestructible, they have never produced a single true sovereign realm powerhouse until they met their end today. Blue Deity nodded. I understand. She looked over. Sect Master Qin, if possible, please do not destroy the outer appearance of the monster pond. I hope that you can preserve it. Qin Yu shook his head. I'm sorry, but I cannot do that. He ignored Blue Deity's frown. He stepped forwards, and the mountain river sword appeared in his hand. Bang! The sword peak fell. At the same time, a halo of light flashed on the surface of Qin Yu's left hand, instantly fusing into the mountain river sword. Although it seemed ordinary, it caused the might of this sword to reach the limit. Kacha! The entire demon pool was directly split into two. Strong winds rose between the heavens and earth. Endless monstrous energy gushed out from the cracks in the monster pond, rushing into the monster race's ancestral land. Rumble, rumble. The roars were caused by the gathering of monstrous energy. It condensed into phantoms of great monsters that emitted mournful howls. At this moment, the entire monster race's ancestral land shook. All the monsters looked towards the depths of the ancestral land with wide eyes, shock on their faces. They didn't know what was happening, but they could feel the pain and sorrow of these great monster phantoms. As for the monster race's half-emperors, they sensed something. Monster Pond. It's been destroyed. How is this possible? With Moon Fiend and Blue Deity here, who could possibly destroy my race's monster pond? With cries of alarm, a group of great monsters shot into the skies, soaring deep into the ancestral land. But before they could approach, they were stopped by a blue light. The phantom of Blue Deity walked out. She swept her eyes over everyone and slowly said, "The monster pond has indeed been destroyed." The complexions of the many great monsters changed. Their pupils shrank, revealing shock, anger, and fear. The monster pond was destroyed. This meant that all monsters in the world would lose their chance to reincarnate. Once they died, they would truly die. Lord Blue Deity, what happened? How could the monster pond be destroyed? Where's Lord Moon Fiend? We want to see Lord Moon Fiend. The crowd of great monsters was filled with excitement. Blue Deity frowned. She lifted a hand and pressed down. Bang! The air exploded. Thus, the great monsters instantly quieted down. They hurriedly bowed their heads, panic-stricken at their actions. This matter was decided by Moon Fiend and myself. There is no need for you to say anything. Go back. Blue energy swept out, sending many great monsters flying away. And on the other side, where the monster pond was, Chin, you put away the mountain and river sword. He walked to the monster pond and looked down. There was a vortex underground, incomparably dark and slowly spinning. Now, as if sensing Chin Yu's gaze, the vortex suddenly sped up. A swallowing strength erupted from within. Chin Yu turned and glanced at Moon Fiend. She shook her head and said, I choose to withdraw from this matter. Our previous agreement will also be nullified. Chin Yu said, all right. Shua. He leapt up and jumped into the vortex. His figure vanished from sight. Blue Deity said, Moon Fiend, there must be some great secret on Chin Yu's body. I know. Moon Fiend narrowed her eyes. Not long ago, I thought about leaving Chin Yu here, but in the end I gave up on this idea. She took a deep breath. Before, when that patriarch asked for help, the aura that descended came from an unfathomable realm. It was the aura of a blazing sun. You might not understand, but let me tell you, even a long-lived species cannot withstand a single blow from a blazing sun. That aura can kill. Even if it doesn't do anything, it can still erase everything if it descends. Blue Deity was shocked. Blazing sun. This was the first time she had heard news on this level. Then Chin Yu. That's right, he's alive and well. He's lived until now. Moon Fiend bitterly smiled. So, there must be some secret on Chin Yu's body. It's just that this secret is too great. So great that our monster race cannot swallow it. So, I gave up on this idea and only sought to protect myself. Blue Deity was silent. Then he slowly nodded. But in reality, there was another reason that Moon Fiend did not say. That was Bai Fei Fei. She had long since guessed that Bai Fei Fei was the one who had said that Chin Yu possessed the remnant body of the long-lived species. And that sword strike just now had confirmed this. As a long-lived species, Bai Fei Fei could undoubtedly feel the aura of a blazing sun descending. It was impossible for her not to know what that meant. But Bai Fei Fei had not parted ways with Chin Yu. This was because what had just happened was the best evidence. This showed that Bai Fei Fei had long since recognized Chin Yu, even if she knew that he had been locked onto by a blazing sun. Or perhaps she had been convinced. But no matter which possibility it was, the result was the same. Chin Yu definitely had a trump card in his hands that could convince the long-lived species that he could survive. As for the level involved, it was simply too terrifying. Moon Fiend didn't know what Chin Yu's trump card was, but she didn't want to know. Greed would kill. So would curiosity. Moon Fiend only wanted to ensure that the monster race could continue on. And this was also the reason why after Chin Yu had killed the patriarch, she hadn't bothered to conceal anything and had directly expressed her stance. She had cut herself off from Chinyu, drawing a clear line between them, and doing her best to extricate herself from this matter. Otherwise, once she was dragged into it, she would really die. Chinyu jumped into the vortex beneath the monster pond. After a moment of shaking, he appeared in a world of absolute darkness. The environment here was almost the same as Sword Prison at the base of Swallow Mountain. Rumble, rumble. In the darkness, there was the roar of a flood, shaking the air and emitting a heaven-shaking sound. Shua, the mountain and river sword appeared. Chinyu's left hand began to shine. Bai Fei sneered. A broken seal, and you want to suppress me? Keep on dreaming. Bang! The mountain and river sword slashed down. In the darkness, the howling and terrifying strength was instantly cut apart. Chinyu stepped forwards, plunging deep into the darkness. Bai Fei, what part of your body is sealed here? My heart. Bai Fei said. Otherwise, why do you think this monster pond of the monster race has the ability to reincarnate a great monster? It is my heart that provides it with strength. As she spoke to hear, she hummed several times. But this is all thanks to Little Meaty. If it weren't for her leaving this monster pond to the monster race, then even if they obtained my heart, the monster race wouldn't have been able to suppress me with their current methods. Chinyu's eyebrows shot up. You also know about this? Bai Fei said, of course. That girl, Yao Yu, told me everything when she was young, including that crush she had, but it never came to an end. I'm very curious. If that girl Moon Fiend knew that the one she liked was a woman, what sort of expression would she have? Chinyu. So Moon Fiend didn't know that Little Meaty was a woman. It was Little Meaty who had been bored out of her mind and decided to dress up as a man. Hi. It was fortunate that no one knew about this misunderstanding. If he denied it and it spread to Little Meaty's ears, he would definitely be in trouble. Cough, so that's how it is. Bai Fei suddenly said, My lord, my intuition tells me that you are thinking the wrong thing. Chinyu shook his head. No, if you deny it so quickly, then you aren't wrong. Bai Fei chuckled. I didn't think that my lord would have such an open mind. If you have a need, I can actually satisfy you. Chinyu was stunned. What do these words mean? The mountain and river sword was a beat too slow. After a moment of confusion, it was almost forced back by the suppressive strength in the darkness. He immediately decided that he wouldn't speak another word to Bai Fei about this topic. No, he wouldn't speak to her about this topic ever again. This woman's methods were too wild. Chapter 1779. Bai Fei teased him a few more times, but Chinyu remained silent. She didn't dare go overboard, and merely grunted a few times before shutting her mouth. In reality, however, she felt more at ease. The details revealed a person's character, even if Chinyu didn't act like a man. Such restraint and self-discipline were a sign of character. At least, based on Bai Fei's experience, such people were generally very trustworthy. Chinyu had no idea that he'd been angered to the point where he'd been forced to endure it. Otherwise, he would have laughed in exasperation. But right now, he wasn't in the mood to waste words with Bai Fei. The seal beneath the demonic pool was different from the one in Sword Prison. Without Meaty, he couldn't look down on everyone like he did before. This made Chinyu somewhat understand what Bai Fei meant. Meaty was different. It seemed that there were differences between longevity species, and Little Meaty was undoubtedly one of the strongest, perhaps even the strongest. In the pitch-black darkness, the power of the seal vibrated like an undercurrent, surging in from all directions without end. As Chinyu continued deeper into the seal, and neared Bai Fei's sealed heart, the power of the seal grew stronger and stronger. The fact that it could suppress Bai Fei's heart was enough to show how powerful the seal was. Therefore, Chinyu had to be on full alert. He didn't want to lose himself before he could get his hands on the heart. How much further? Chinyu asked in a low voice as he swung his sword again. Almost there, almost there. Chinyu frowned. Can't you say something else? I've heard that answer 8 times already. Bai Fei pouted. My lord, you're the one asking too often. I can't do anything about it. But this time, we're really almost there. Put in a little more effort, and we'll be able to make it through very soon. Chinyu's expression suddenly changed. Rumble. A low rumble came from all directions. Hum. The mountain and river sword hummed as Chinyu raised his hand. This time, however, he didn't slash down. Sword aura surged out, instantly surrounding him and forming a small world. This was what the heaven-splitting sword sect was most proficient at, forming a world with the sword. Its killing power was astonishing, and so was its defense. The heaven-splitting sword sect was able to construct a minor world with sword cultivators below the Emperor realm. Moreover, Chinyu had borrowed a half-emperor. Furthermore, the sword in his hand was the Mountain River Sword, a celestial sword that could rank among the best in the world. Bang! An earth-shattering boom instantly rang out from all directions. Countless sword breaths shattered and were annihilated. Chinyu paused and stuffily coughed. But soon, new sword aura surged out, replenishing the damage and maintaining the small world's integrity. By Fei, you'd better be right. He clenched his teeth and roared, stepping forwards. This, Bai Fei stammered. My lord, you don't have to work so hard by yourself. As long as you use the slightest bit of the power of the blazing sun that is the size of a finger, it will be enough to suppress everything. Chinyu was expressionless. Shut up. Do you think that they will just stand by and watch a new sun appear? Bai Fei, tell me the truth. How far is it? Bai Fei whispered. There's still a long way to go. Chinyu took a deep breath and smiled wryly inwardly. As expected, even a woman's mouth was full of lies. He couldn't trust her at all. What should he do? He had to hold on. Bai Fei was Chinyu's most important support. When Misty wasn't here, she could provide additional support. He could only go all out. Rumble. Loud booms continued to resound in his mind. Chinyu was like a small boat in a raging sea. He could be destroyed at any moment. Step by step, his face gradually paled and his footsteps slowed. At first, Bai Fei said a few words to cheer Chinyu on. But after that, she fell into silence. Blood began to flow from his mouth and nose, then from the corners of his eyes and ears. The blood dripped onto the Mountain River sword in his hand and gradually dyed the blade red. Hum! A tremor suddenly spread out from the Mountain River sword. Chinyu suddenly felt the pressure on his body greatly decrease. Because, after absorbing Chinyu's blood, the Mountain River sword released another power. And the aura of this force was meaty. Chinyu smiled, warmth in his eyes. So this woman had a backup plan. She really was extraordinary. Shwa. Chinyu sped up. He had to cherish the time Misty had bought. Rumble. The loud booms around him were even more astonishing. The impact of the sealing power reached its peak, but had no way of harming Chinyu. Finally, with a pa sound, all the power of the seal disappeared at this moment. The darkness receded like a tide. Light appeared in front of Chinyu. He could clearly see a heart floating in the air. Thump, thump. It was still contracting and beating. Shwa. Bai Fei's figure appeared in front of Chinyu. She glanced at the Mountain River sword and said, My lord, leave the rest to me. Her foot. She took a step and appeared in front of the heart. She lifted a hand and grasped. But things did not go as smoothly as expected. The heart trembled. It released a mass of blood energy, isolating itself within it. It had rejected Bai Fei. This was the terror of the heavenly retribution. It could tear apart the long-lived species and disperse their bodies to suppress them. During this process, if they were suppressed for too long, there was a chance that the fragments of their bodies would develop their own consciousness. It was because of this that it was extremely difficult for long-lived species to fuse back together after being punished by the heavenly retribution and return to a complete body. Clearly, this was the case with Bai Fei's heart. Shwa, another Bai Fei appeared. She was also dazzlingly white, but her clothes were a bright red. She knelt before Chinyu and respectfully bowed. Bai Fei greets the future blazing sun. Although the fragments of long-lived species had developed their own consciousness, They were ultimately of the same origin. Once they approached each other, they could share their memories. Moreover, they could not help but have thoughts of devouring and fusing with each other. If not for Chinyu, the blood-clothed by Fei would have already attacked by Fei. Chinyu frowned. He fell silent. The blood-clothed by Fei continued. She and I are the same person. No matter who survives in the end, they will still fulfill their promise and continue to help you and be loyal to you. Your Excellency need not doubt this. Bai Fei was expressionless. She's right. The blood-clothed by Fei smiled. So, Your Excellency, please step aside and wait for a moment. Victory and defeat will soon be decided. Chinyu hesitated. He glanced at Bai Fei and took a step back. Let's begin. All right. The two Bai Feis had clearly anticipated this scene from the start. Without the slightest hesitation, their expressions were calm. They glanced at each other and attacked at the same time. Shwa, shwa. The two Bai Fei turned into white light and red light respectively. They collided and fused together. Red and white intertwined, madly devouring and killing each other, each wanting to completely fuse with the other. At first, the red light had the upper hand, but slowly it began to show signs of weakness. On the other hand, the suppressed white light began to launch a massive counterattack. Bit by bit, it finally gained the absolute upper hand. The red light was completely devoured. Chinyu's heart relaxed. Although the two Bai Fei's words were the same, this proved that they were trustworthy. But Chinyu was more familiar with Bai Fei. He hoped that she could win. After devouring the red light, the white light grew in size. After a brief tumble, it burst open and Bai Fei walked out. Her entire person, compared to before, had a more lively feeling. Her every movement was more and more enchanting, seductive, and soul-stealing. At this moment, she bowed respectfully. Your Excellency, I survived. Are you happy? Chinyu. It really was Bai Fei. He frowned. Since you've won, you should hurry and take back your heart. A long night is fraught with dreams. Bai Fei stood up. Thank you for the reminder, Your Excellency, but I've already taken back my heart. She lifted a hand, grasping the front of her clothes and gently pulling outwards. Exposed spring sunshine, but she didn't care. Instead, she puffed out her chest. Listen, it's beating. Chinyu didn't need to listen. With a glance, he could clearly see the deep snow-white ravine trembling and beating. The heart was really back. Cough, cough, cough. Chinyu coughed and turned to leave. Then let's leave. This crazy woman. Ha ha. Bai Fei's laughter rang out behind him. Your Excellency, you're so cute. Shwa. Her figure flashed, and she appeared at Chinyu's side. She said in a low voice, In truth, I lied to you before. I only had one hand, and although it seemed very real to me, it was only a condensed shadow. There was no way for me to serve you. But it's different now. After taking back my heart, it's like I've been injected with flesh and blood. I'm basically a living woman now. Your Excellency, are you really not moved at all? I'm serious, and I'm absolutely willing. Chinyu flicked his sleeves, his face full of anger. Bai Fei, don't go crazy again, or I'll really get angry. This woman was really too much. If you want to talk, just talk. Why'd you have to blow in my ear? If you want to blow, just blow. How could you do that? It was so provocative. His entire body was instantly filled with anger. How hateful. Your Excellency, you can't do that. The blazing suns of this world, which one, forget it. You'll know in the future. Since Your Excellency doesn't like me, then I'm sorry. I've been shamelessly offering myself to you. But Your Excellency, your concubine's embrace is always open to you. If you change your mind, you don't need to say anything. Just give me a look. Shwa Bai Fei vanished. Chinyu stopped. He rubbed his face and let out a long sigh, his heart full of sorrow. This woman was really too much. At this time, Chinyu did not know that Bai Fei was also very disappointed. Because before, she might have been testing him, seducing him. But this time, she was serious. Bai Fei could see that Misty was serious and attentive. She had really poured everything she had into Chinyu. This was the key to Bai Fei's change of mind. This was because what she had said to Chinyu about the difference between meat and meat was in fact only a very small part of it. Meaty was a long-lived species, but she was not simply a long-lived species. It wasn't just because Meaty had incredible strength, but because her rank was very high, inconceivably high. At the very least, Bai Fei, who was also a long-lived species, felt absolute suppression when facing her. Meaty was willing to bet so much on Chinyu. Why couldn't she gamble? How many long-lived species of heavenly punishment could truly be resurrected? And even if she succeeded in inviting the heavens, Bai Fei could not guarantee that she would be the one to survive. But if she had Chinyu's help, everything would be possible. Unfortunately, Chinyu was actually able to resist the urge to transform into a wolf for her. Was he still a man? Bai Fei was distressed. But fortunately, she still had time. She had to find a way to conquer Chinyu as soon as possible. If you wanted a man to be good to you, to be willing to do anything for you, the best and most effective way was to become his woman, obviously. Outside the monster pool, Moon Fiend suddenly said he succeeded. As Moon Fiend, her light illuminated the monster race's ancestral land. Although she had not entered the seal, she could vaguely sense some changes. She was not surprised by this result. On the contrary, if Chinyu failed, Moon Fiend would feel that there was a problem with her judgment. Azure Deity looked at the black vortex beneath the monster pool. At this moment, it suddenly stopped spinning. Then, like a bubble, it burst and disappeared. Rumble, rumble. In the skies above the monster race's ancestral land, there was a sudden roar of thunder. Blood surged out, dyeing the sky red. A terrifying aura fell from it, descending upon the monster race's ancestral land. All the monster race members trembled in fear. Even Moon Fiend and Azure Deity, the two great true emperors, could not help but frown, worry in their eyes. Heavenly punishment by Fei had been suppressed by the will of the world. Chinyu's act of saving her was naturally a defiance, and there was a price to pay for defying the will of the world. And now, the blood that had appeared in the sky was exactly this. But in the end, for some unknown reason, no heavenly punishment descended from the sky that was dyed red. It tumbled for a moment, then slowly dissipated. But neither Moon Fiend nor Azure Deity looked relaxed. Instead, they became even more solemn, because heavenly punishment would not disappear. Since it had appeared, it would definitely descend. It was only a matter of time. Comparatively speaking, the earlier the heavenly punishment descended, the better. For instance, after the scene before them disappeared, it didn't truly disappear. Rather, it was more like an accumulation. And on a certain day, when it erupted at the same time, the might of the heavenly punishment would reach an inconceivable degree. It could be said to destroy the heavens and earth. Moon Fiend said, "I didn't think that this Chinyu would cause so many disasters. All sorts of terrifying troubles and trouble surround him." She pointed a finger at the skies. "This is more than enough for him to pass." Azure Deity nodded. But before he could speak, space flashed, and Chinyu walked out. "Moon Fiend, although what you say is correct, I don't like it." When he looked up, he just happened to see the last bit of blood vanish. Even the heavens wanted to join in on the fun. Moon Fiend had a calm expression. "I am merely stating the facts. Chinyu, you really must be careful. It is extremely difficult for a sword cultivator like you to appear in this world. Don't die so easily." Chinyu said, "Don't worry. There are many people who want to kill me, but no matter who they are, they will all die in the end." His eyes fell on Azure Deity's face. "Before, Azure Deity asked me if I could keep the monster pond intact. Now, I have a transaction. No need." Moon Fiend directly refused. "Chinyu, the transaction between us has already been completed. If there is nothing else, please leave now." Chinyu arched an eyebrow. "I haven't finished speaking yet. Since you refused the transaction, can we change the method?" He lifted a hand and pointed. "Take away the shattered monster pond." Moon Fiend frowned. Before she could speak, Chinyu said, "This thing wasn't yours to begin with, and I have some friendship with its master." Moon Fiend looked at him deeply. "All right. Thank you. Chinyu flicked his sleeves and put away the fragments of the monster pond. Then, he turned and stepped away. Schwa, his figure vanished from sight. Direct and efficient, without the slightest hesitation. Azure Deity said, Moon Fiend, what does he want a monster pond for? Moon Fiend hesitated for a moment. She said, I don't know either, but my intuition tells me that I shouldn't refuse him. After all, who can truly predict what will happen in the future? Perhaps this is another opportunity for the monster race. Azure Deity knew that there was a deeper meaning in Moon Fiend's words. She was hiding something, but Azure Deity didn't continue asking. She chose to believe in Moon Fiend. What do we do next? Moon Fiend said, Announce to the outside world that the heaven-splitting sword sex Chinyu has intruded into the monster race's ancestral land and destroyed my race's monster pond. From this day forth, he is a great enemy of the monster race. Chapter 1780. That clan, Heavenly Grotto Mystic Realm. Between the heavens and earth, there was a deathly silence. All the cultivators of that clan revealed looks of despair. The patriarch had perished. Moreover, he had truly perished. There was no way to revive him. There was no need to explain what this meant. The end of that clan had arrived. But why was it like this? Everything was clearly fine. Before the patriarch left for the monster race, the situation had been under control. Chinyu! It's Chinyu! An elder suddenly roared, his face fierce. It's him. It's all because of him. Another elder screamed. That's right. Everything happened after he arrived. It must be Chinyu who harmed the patriarch. Everyone of that clan, listen up. Chinyu is our clan's life or death enemy. In the future, we must kill him at all costs to avenge the patriarch and bring justice to our clan. Niu Daodu is at Azure Dragon Mountain. If you kill her, Niu Dingtian will absolutely not let this matter rest. Kill Niu Daodu and borrow Niu Dingtian's hand to eliminate Chinyu. Despair and fear filled the hearts of the people of that clan. Endless killing intent and anger rose within them. Let's go. Whoosh, whoosh, with the sound of breaking air, the cultivators of that clan shot into the skies. Soon, they arrived at the small courtyard where Chinyu lived. The pale-faced 327 was standing in the courtyard in a daze. As it looked up, it couldn't help but shiver. 327, where is Niu Daodu? Hand her over. An elder roared. 327's complexion paled even further. Her lips moved, and she slowly shook her head. The clan elder's eyes turned red. Insolence. 327, don't forget your status. Do you want to disobey orders? 327 said, Elder, Niu Daodu is Sect Master Qin's person. I promise to look after her, so please don't make things difficult for me. 327, another elder roared. Chinyu harmed the patriarch, and our clan has lost its status as the world's spirit of destiny. Don't you know that? Hurry up and hand her over. I think that 327 might have already betrayed our clan and thrown herself in with the heaven-splitting sword sex Chinyu. Otherwise, with her always following us, how could she not have sensed Chinyu's plot against our clan? The clan elder who spoke had an extremely gloomy and icy cold expression. The air suddenly fell silent. Yes, that's right. I thought something was wrong at the beginning. Why did Chinyu place so much importance on 327? She betrayed the tribe long ago. He deserves to die. The group of elders, as well as the people from the clan that had come with them, all had sinister expressions on their faces. With reddened eyes, 327 shook its head vigorously. No, but she couldn't bring herself to say the following words. This was because in her heart, she was indeed inclined towards Chinyu, and the current misfortune of that clan was inextricably related to her. Speechless, the clan elder roared, Kill her. Bang! A few figures rushed into the courtyard. However, at this moment, the space suddenly trembled, and an invisible force erupted, directly knocking back the people who had rushed out. Puff! Puff! Blood spurted out from their mouths and noses. The expressions of everyone from that clan changed drastically. It's the power of Azure Dragon Mountain. How is this possible? An elder screamed. Chinyu, it's Chinyu. The cultivator's eyes went bloodshot. Not only did he kill our clan chief, but he also stole our clan's status as the fate spirit of heaven and earth. Shua, the anger and killing intent in the hearts of everyone from that clan reached the limit at this moment. That's right, it was like this. Otherwise, there was no way to explain what was happening in front of them. The small courtyard that Chinyu was in was actually protected by the strength of Azure Dragon Mountain. This was the most convincing evidence. Heaven opening sword sex Chinyu. My clan will not rest until you die. Kill, kill, kill. Kill 327. Kill Nyo Daodu. Even if you and I die, we will make him feel pain in his heart and give him endless trouble. Attack! With loud roars, the elders of that clan crazily rushed out to attack. Beams of light emitted a terrifying aura as they smashed into the small courtyard. However, it was a pity that all their efforts were in vain. This was because before their attacks could approach the small courtyard, they were blocked, shattered, and then disappeared. Beneath the protection of Azure Dragon Mountain's strength, the interior was extremely safe. No matter how that clan roared out again and again, no matter how their killing intent boiled over, it was useless. 327. You traitor, come out and die. You harmed the patriarch and harmed my clan. You are the sinner of our clan. 327. You are still hiding inside? I curse you. I curse you to die a horrible death. Come out. Hurry up and come out. The people of that clan roared. The 327 was on the verge of collapse. Before this, in her heart, there was still a last trace of hope. She hoped that all of this was just a coincidence and that the fate of that clan had nothing to do with Chinyu. But now, this hope had been shattered. No wonder before Chinyu left, he had asked her to stay here and take care of Nyo Daodu. It was clear that at that time, Chinyu had already made preparations to attack that clan. But she didn't notice anything at all. Not just that, but in this matter, she had even played a supporting role to Chinyu. Thinking of this, 327's face was drained of all color. Taking a deep breath, 327 looked up and faced the people of that clan. Okay, she took a step forward and walked out. Nyo Daodu was in the courtyard. Safety was not a problem, so there was no need for her to continue staying here. Dying here was also a kind of release. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. 327 arrived in front of the courtyard door. Without hesitation, she reached out and pulled it open. She's coming out. Kill her. Kill this traitor. Amidst their roars, the fierce-looking elders of that clan directly struck out with killing intent. 327 closed her eyes. She could already feel the extremely rich aura of death. It completely wrapped around her entire body. Then die. But death did not come as promised. Instead, cries of pain suddenly rang out beside his ears. Shua. 327's eyes shot open. She saw a familiar back appear in front of her. Chinyu. He had returned. Little 7, I know that right now, your heart is in great pain. But remember, I will give you an explanation for this matter. Chinyu glanced at her, his eyes sweeping over 327's pale face. His heart ached. After that, this heartache transformed into flames of rage that blazed within his heart. Chinyu. Kill him. Take revenge for the patriarch. Fight him to the death. The people of that clan were bound by a common enemy. Chinyu coldly sneered. He lifted his hand and clenched it. Bang! Space fiercely twisted. The roaring and murderous crowd was sucked in. Then they were torn to pieces. Their mortal bodies and souls were destroyed. Don't! Behind him, 327 screams echoed out. Chinyu paused. He slowly drew back his outstretched hand. Then promise me that you will give me a chance to explain and not do anything stupid. Then, I will promise to let them go. 327 bit her lips. Okay, shut up. We don't need you to pretend to be kind here. 327, you are the sinner of my clan, the eternal sinner. Chinyu's eyes swept around. Bang. The person who spoke was directly blown to pieces. I said that I would let you go, but that doesn't mean that I will let all of you go. If you aren't afraid of death, you can continue speaking. The people of that clan glared at him, but deep in their hearts, they couldn't help but feel fear. It was just that Yu was far too terrifying right now. As the new heaven and earth destiny spirit, he was the master of this heavenly abode mystic realm. This was the same as his domain. Everyone's life or death depended on a single thought. If they continued to resist, all that awaited them was death. But the eyes of the people of that clan were still blazing with killing intent. They wished that they could skin Yu alive. Yu flicked his sleeves. Bang, bang, bang. With a series of muffled bangs, the several scariest people in the room all exploded. Put away your gazes. That patriarch was indeed killed by me. The status of the heaven and earth destiny spirit was also taken away by me. Do you hate me? But I have carried this hatred on my back for many years. Yu lifted a hand and pointed between his eyebrows. Pa! The concealment of the boundary ring disappeared at this moment. His true aura was exposed for the first time. The eyes of the people of that clan widened as they stubbornly stared at Yu. They could feel the instinctive fear and killing intent, as well as an inconceivable sense of closeness and familiarity. Yu had no expression. I believe in your senses. There is nothing wrong with them. I, Yu, have the same bloodline as all of you. But my bloodline was extracted and stripped by you a long time ago, and I was exiled. Even my parents were killed, and my little sister's memories were erased by you. She has been an orphan to this day. Yu roared, "Tell me, should I kill you or not?" The complexions of the several elders of that clan changed. They stared at Yu, their faces filled with disbelief and horror. "No, impossible. It's him. You're still alive? No, you're dead. You died a long time ago. No, absolutely not. The patriarch has already handled everything." These elders seemed to have gone mad, their faces filled with fear. Yu sneered. "It's obvious that I didn't die. Not only did I not die, but I even live to this day. Otherwise, how could I have personally sent you all to hell? So, today's result is your own fault. I don't feel the least bit of guilt, nor do I feel the least bit of pity towards you. Everyone in that clan deserves to die. They deserve to be destroyed. It is you who owes me and my little sister." He flicked his sleeves, and space violently shook. Like a great tide, all the people in front of him were sent flying away. "Scram! Never appear in front of me again, otherwise I will kill you." Puff! Puff! The cultivators of that clan wildly spat out blood from their orifices as they were sent flying far away. In the blink of an eye, they had vanished without a trace. Yu turned and looked at the incredulous 327. His voice became gentle. "You didn't hear wrong. 327, you are my little sister." He lifted a hand and placed a finger between her eyebrows. By Feifei, the matter of awakening her memories would naturally be left to her. "My lord, please rest assured," By Feifei softly said. She could sense Yu's current mood and didn't delay in the least. A trace of light followed Yu's finger and sank between her eyebrows. 327 subconsciously closed her eyes. Then, her body began to shiver, as if she had fallen into a terrifying nightmare. Yu's eyes revealed a bit of unwillingness. He didn't wish for 327 to recall those painful memories. But she had to know if she could pass this hurdle in her heart. They had never owed that clan anything. It was everyone in that clan who owed them. Chapter 1781. Finally, 327 opened her eyes. As she looked at Yu, tears streamed down her cheeks. "Big brother." She threw herself into Yu's arms. Yu hugged her. He softly said, "Little Seven, it's okay, it's okay." 327 fell asleep in his arms. Cough. Neo Dowda walked out, her face shaken. "I'm sorry, I didn't do it on purpose." Is she really your little sister?" Yu nodded. "Yes. He picked up 327 and walked into the room. He put her down and looked at her furrowed eyebrows. He wiped away her tears and said in a low voice, "I'm sorry." Nyok Dowdu stood behind. "Chinyu, you don't need to be like this. This isn't your fault." Chinyu took a deep breath and stood up. "Dowdu, I still haven't thanked you. During this time, you have helped me so much." He cupped his hands together. "Thank you. In the future, as long as I can do it, just ask. I will absolutely not decline." Neo Dowda humphed. "You change your attitude so quickly. Isn't it because you're worried that I will shamelessly stick to you again?" "Chinyu, don't worry. I already said that I don't like you anymore." Chinyu shook his head. "It's not like that." Neo Dowdu glanced at him. Forget it. I'm a magnanimous person and won't make things difficult for you. But you must remember what you said. Perhaps one day I will come looking for you." Chinyu said, "I will." Neo Dowdu said, "Chinyu, what do you plan on doing next?" Chinyu said, "I don't know." Neo Dowdu's eyes widened in shock. "You don't know? You don't know?" Chinyu bitterly smiled. "I'm not. Everything can be predicted, and no one knows what will happen in the future. I can only take things one step at a time." His eyes fell on 327. "But the first thing I need to do is take good care of her. During these years, she has been alone. As her big brother, I owe her far too much." In the southwestern desolate region's broken world, in order to compete for the ruler's inheritance, Qin Yu had even attacked 327. Thinking of this, he felt increasingly guilty. Luckily, nothing major had happened. Neo Daru said, "It's good to have a big brother. I'm envious of 327. Qin Yu said, "You can also call me Big Brother." Taking advantage of me, 327 glared at him. "Be careful. From now on, we're just ordinary friends. We have to keep our distance. Otherwise, that old ancestor of mine will definitely not let you off." Qin Yu laughed, his mood suddenly becoming much better. Actually, when he said that he didn't know what to do next, he wasn't trying to decline. The great enmity that had been pressing down on his heart had suddenly been avenged. Although he could maintain his calm, he still couldn't help but fall into an empty and vacant state. He needed time to adjust. But right now, what Qin Yu was most worried about was 327's condition, because no matter what, she was a member of that clan. And if that clan was robbed of its status as the karmic spirit of heaven and earth, as the bloodline of that clan, 327 would also suffer a backlash. Qin Yu could only hope that the consequences of this backlash weren't too terrifying. At the very least, it had to be within the scope of his control. Otherwise, Qin Yu didn't dare to imagine what would happen, nor was he able to face such a result. Neo Dowda noticed Qin Yu's gloomy mood. She stepped forwards and said, "Don't worry, she will definitely be fine." "Yes." Qin Yu took a deep breath. He stood up and said, "Dowdu, I'll have to trouble you to look after her. I have some matters to attend to." "All right." Turning and leaving, Qin Yu asked in a low voice, "Bai Fei Fei, how is my little sister?" Bai Fei Fei said, "My lord, you shouldn't be asking me about this. You know best." His heart sinking, Qin Yu said, "Tell me the truth." Bai Fei Fei paused, then said, "It's not too good." My lord, you told me to tell you the truth. We can't take out our anger on others." Of course, although it's not too good, it doesn't mean that something will happen immediately. In short, there are ways to repair it. Qin Yu said, "How do we do it? Tell me." Bai Fei Fei said, 327's current problem is that her bloodline has suffered a backlash. This will cause her life force to completely fade away in a short period of time. If we want 327 to be fine and continue living, then we can only extend her life force. This matter is easy to say. As long as you can find a long-lived species and have them not hesitate to consume their own source, they can extend their life force. But if you want to say it's difficult, long-lived species also want to continue growing stronger, so they won't easily do something that will consume their own life force. Qin Yu said, "What conditions do you have?" Bai Fei Fei said, "My lord, you are well aware of my current condition. If I want to extend 327's life, the consumption will be even greater. So, if you want me to help, my lord will have to continue to help me find the other parts of my body. Otherwise, even if you force me to my death, I won't be able to last much longer. I can. Chinyu nodded without hesitation. I will help you. Thank you, my lord. Then I can guarantee that 327 will be fine for the time being. Bai Feifei hesitated for a moment. However, this method cannot solve the root of the problem. If you really want to save her, it won't be easy. The current 327 was like a leaking bucket, her life force constantly leaking out. Although replenishing her life force could allow her to live, as time passed, the hole would become larger and larger. The rate at which she lost her life force would also increase. In the end, she would completely collapse, and there would be no possibility of saving her. Chinyu was silent for a moment. Then he slowly said, "Once I become a blazing sun, everything is possible." At this moment, the impulse to become stronger became incomparably strong. Deep within the void realm, the sea of disarray, bang, bang, terrifying shock waves of strength constantly erupted. Unexpectedly, there were two figures fighting here. One of them wore blue robes. His expression was calm, and his eyes were filled with firm, killing intent. It was as if he wouldn't give up, even if he went to the depths of the Yellow Springs. And across from him was a red-clothed Taoist. Flames blazed all around him, and a terrifying aura seemed capable of splitting the heavens and earth. Suddenly, the complexion of the blue-clothed cultivator changed. He suddenly turned around and widened his eyes, revealing a look of shock. Soon, the red-clothed Taoist also sensed something. "Ha ha!" The Taoist laughed. That clan was originally rootless duckweed. They shouldn't have continued to exist in this world. Now, they have finally been punished, and their status as the world's destiny spirit has been taken away. He lifted his hand, and a flame saber instantly appeared. A cruel and savage aura filled the air. "Autumn, you have chased me all the way here. Today is the day you die." Bang! The flame saber slashed down. In an instant, the sea of disarray was split apart. A terrifying burning aura seemed as if it could burn the heavens and boil the sea. With a heaven-shaking explosion, Autumn was sent flying backwards. He lifted his arms in front of him. His sleeves were charred black. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. The moment this blood left his body, it ignited with a loud bang. After the first saber, the Taoist slashed out a second time without hesitation. Then a third saber, a fourth saber, a fifth saber. Each saber was faster and fiercer than the last. A terrifying burning aura covered the entire sea of disarray in raging flames. "Burn all things. Autumn, stop resisting. You have been stripped of your status as the world's destiny spirit. You have suffered a backlash, and your strength has been greatly reduced. You are not my match at all. Give up." This is the fate of that clan. Starting many years ago, when you lost control of the southwest desolate region, your fate was already sealed. Then, let me send you on your way. The Taoist's voice was ice-cold and filled with killing intent. In these past years, he had been incomparably angry. He had even been chased into the sea of disarray. He had been exhausted from running for his life. It wasn't that the Taoist wasn't strong enough. As an immortal second only to the long-lived species, he was extremely strong and could deter the world. But Autumn was even stronger. Luckily, after fleeing for so many years, the Taoist had finally ushered in a favorable turn. That clan's status as the world's destiny spirit had been stripped away, and Autumn had suffered a backlash. This was his best chance. If he killed Autumn, then with his cultivation, he would only need to spend some time at most to find the way back. Scarlet firmament. A deep roar came from the raging flames. Bang! A formidable aura suddenly erupted from within. Taoist Scarlet Firmament's eyes widened. His face shook as he cried out, "Impossible!" This aura, he had broken through. Autumn had broken through. Bang! The flame saber slashed down. But this time, it failed to hit its target and was scattered by a single punch. Taoist Scarlet Firmament was sent flying backwards. His complexion darkened, and his eyes filled with anger. It was true. It was actually true. Damn it. Autumn had broken through his bottleneck. The sea of flames began to extinguish. Autumn walked out from within. After his blue robes were burned away by the flames, he looked particularly distressed. But now, no one paid any attention to this. This was because the current Autumn was incomparably powerful. As he stood there, he seemed to exist for all eternity. No matter how much time washed over him, even if tens of millions of years passed, he would still remain where he was, motionless and unchanging. He had transcended time, and this was one of the greatest characteristics of a long-lived species. Above the Emperor realm was the realm beyond. Once one succeeded, they would become a long-lived species. But this wasn't easy. The difficulty was shockingly high. In the Emperor realm, not even 1 in 1,000 people could succeed. And in order to resist the scouring of the power of time and preserve their vitality, immortals appeared. They borrowed external objects that possessed the attribute of a long-lived species. After refining them and fusing them into their own bodies, they could become nearly immortal existences. Only at this realm could one be considered qualified to attack the realm of a long-lived species. Of course, in order to become an immortal, one had to be at the peak of the Emperor realm. As for that clan's Autumn, she had been an undying since many years ago. Break and rise, break and rise. Lord Scarlet Firmament muttered to himself, his eyes brightening. So it was like this. It was like this. No wonder no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't find a direction to break through. It turned out that success was due to an immortal, and failure was also due to an immortal. It was because of his immortal attribute that he had lost the will to fight and cut off all means of retreat. This was why he wasn't able to support his breakthrough and step into the realm of a long-lived species. Scarlet Firmament lifted his hand, raised his flame blade, and fiercely shook it. Bang! The flame blade shattered. Puff! He spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face paled. But at this moment, Scarlet Firmament's eyes became even brighter. Bottleneck. He could feel the bottleneck that stood in front of him. This was the threshold that had existed for countless years, but he couldn't truly feel it. It was the threshold that belonged to a long-lived species. But now it had finally appeared. Ha ha ha! Daoist Scarlet Firmament laughed. Bang! His aura skyrocketed at this moment. Autumn, let's fight again. Let's see who can achieve the Tao and surpass us in one fell swoop. Longevity was right in front of him. Chapter 1782. Daoist Scarlet Firmament's immortality came from his flame saber, eternal and undying. As for Autumn's immortality, it was the curse of her race, a nearly immortal attribute. Today, in the depths of the Void Realm, in the sea of chaos, the two immortals had lost their immortal substance and completed their life transformation. For Chiyo, the problem of bloodline backlash was no longer a problem, because immortals lived forever. They existed in the world forever, unafraid of the erosion of time. Soon, a great battle was about to take the first step into the domain of immortals. But at this time, Autumn and Daoist Scarlet Firmament's complexions changed. Light erupted from afar. In the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of the two. Beneath its illumination, it was like a towering mountain was descending, pressing down on them. The two people who stepped into immortals felt their breath catch in their throat. Beneath this light, they felt an absolute suppression. They couldn't resist it. A figure walked out from the light. He calmly said, "The two of you have the direction I need. Tell me your origins, and I will find a way home." A deep and low voice reverberated through the depths of the sea of chaos. Heavenly Grotto, Mystic Realm, Starry Sea. After sleeping for 5 days, 327 finally woke up. When she opened her eyes, she saw Chinyu in front of her. "Big brother," she whispered, a bit hesitant, as if she were in a dream. Chinyu rubbed her head and smiled. "I'm not dreaming. I am your big brother. I will always protect you from now on." 327 nodded, her eyes red. "Don't cry. Our great enmity has been avenged, and we brother and sister have reunited. This is a happy occasion. Chinyu pulled her up. Come, let's go eat. The dishes on the table were all personally prepared by Neo Daodu. It was hard to imagine that with her status, she could actually have such excellent cooking skills. According to Neo Daodu, this was what it meant to be a chef after eating for a long time. After tasting countless delicacies in the world, she had learned a few things. But the facts proved that she wasn't bragging. The taste was indeed amazing. Come, let us raise our cups together. Congratulations on your reunion. Neo Daodu raised her cup and winked. Little 7, do you know that I almost became your sister-in-law? Chinyu coughed, his face flushing red. Neo Daodu glared at him and snorted coldly. Luckily, this young miss found out in time that your brother is a married man, so I reined in the horse at the precipice and didn't suffer any losses. So in the future, you must keep an eye on your brother. He's already a man with a family, so he shouldn't seduce girls so easily. It's only because I'm kind that I don't care about it. Otherwise, his legs will be broken sooner or later. Chinyu bitterly smiled. 327 looked at her and then at Chinyu, his face full of disbelief. My brother isn't that kind of person. As he spoke, he lost his confidence. This was because she suddenly remembered that when she didn't know about her relationship with Chinyu, she also thought that her big brother was a very, very good person. He really gave people a sense of security. If it was applied to Neo Daodu, it did seem to be a little attractive to ignorant girls. Chinyu covered his face. Daodu, don't joke around. He raised his glass. Come, cheers. Ha ha. Neo Daodu laughed happily. Little 7, you're just too cute. I'm just joking with you. 32-7 looked distressed. Neo Daodu had drunk too much. She hugged Chinyu and cursed him. Heartless man, ingrate heartless. She cursed him without end. 327's eyes were full of interest. Chinyu didn't even have the time to put on a fatherly and loving attitude. It was instantly broken. Chin-chi-chi, this will be your name from now on, Chinyu said with a smile. 327's body stiffened. He looked up at him and nodded heavily. Chin-chi-chi, she had a name from now on. Chinyu was silent. Brother, is there something on your mind? Chinyu said, there's something I need to talk to you about. He stood up. I'll take care of Daodu first, then we can talk. He sent the drunk Neo Daodu back to her room. He heard her curse a few more times, and Chinyu reached out and pinched her nose. Little girl. He turned and walked out. Chin-chi-chi finished brewing tea and took the initiative to pour it for her big brother. Chinyu sat opposite her and said, Chi-chi, there's something I need to tell you. When I eradicated that clan, I took away their status as the spirit of heaven and earth. He looked at Chin-chi-chi. This will lead to one consequence. Everyone in that clan will suffer a backlash from their bloodline. Or to be more precise, it will be a backlash from heaven and earth. You will not be an exception. Chin-chi-chi asked, will I die? Chinyu shook his head. No, I've already temporarily stabilized your problem. I'll slowly think of a way to eradicate it for you. There won't be any accidents. Chin-chi-chi said, thank you, big brother. Chinyu said, you don't blame me? After all, it's because of me. I don't. Chin-chi-chi smiled. It's not just because you're helping us take revenge. It's also because you're my big brother. I have my own name now. My name is Chin-chi-chi. I know that my father and mother love me very much, and I have a big brother who will protect me. I'm very happy. Chinyu said in a low voice, Chi-chi, big brother promises you that I will definitely cure you. I won't let you suffer any harm in the future. Chin-chi-chi nodded. I believe in big brother. Chinyu smiled. In your current condition, it's not suitable for you to use your cultivation. Otherwise, it will accelerate the loss of your vitality. So, you can't stay with me for a period of time, because I still have some things to deal with. Big brother is going to send you to Neo Daodu's home. She will be with you, and it will be very safe. With Neo Dingtian's strength, no one can hurt you. Chin-chi-chi's eyes were filled with reluctance, but she still nodded. Okay. Chinyu held her hand. Don't be sad. When big brother is done with the things at hand, I'll come to see you. The next day, when Neo Daodu woke up, Chinyu and the other two left. At the edge of Star Sea Grotto Heaven, Qin flicked his sleeves and released the access permission. Swish, Niu Dingtian's figure appeared in front of him. He looked at Qin, a complex look in his eyes. He never imagined that Qin would be able to overturn that clan so easily. Senior Niu, Qin took the initiative to speak. Niu Dingtian nodded. Don't worry. Chi-Chi, stay in Sky Bull City. I promise you that you'll be fine. Thank you. Qin cupped his hands and turned around. Chi-Chi, go with Senior Niu. His eyes fell on Niu Daodu. Take care of her. Niu Daodu waved her hand. You don't need to say that. Chi-Chi is my good friend. I will take care of her. Ahem, then we'll go. Niu Dingtian flicked his sleeves and wrapped up Niu Daodu and Qin Chi-Chi. They disappeared in a flash. Qin couldn't help but smile bitterly. Although Niu Dingtian's behavior was normal, he could still sense his avoidance attitude. Sure enough, the heavenly punishment was terrifying. Even a big shot like Niu Dingtian didn't dare to go near him. But he knew that Qin Yu's problem was not. That was all. The heavenly punishment was just one of the problems. At this moment, Qin Yu's face suddenly changed. A trace of fear gushed out from the bottom of his heart. He looked up subconsciously and looked into the distance. It was as if there was a gaze that was crossing the endless distance and falling on him. Found you. A voice suddenly sounded in his ear. It was elusive like a bubble. Gone in a flash. Swish! Beads of sweat appeared on Qin Yu's forehead. His face was ashen. Bai Fei. Swish! Bai Fei appeared with a flash of light. She also had a grave expression. There was no need to ask. Just her expression was enough to tell him that it was not an illusion. You sense it too? Bai Fei nodded. My lord, this is, Qin Yu said in a low voice. Our sex competitor. Bai Fei reacted instantly. Her face turned even uglier. Qin Yu held a fragment of the blazing sun in his hand. He had called that aura a competitor. His identity was self-evident. He was the wielder of the remaining fragments of the blazing sun. Most importantly, the owner of the fragment of the blazing sun was far stronger than Qin Yu. Even Bai Fei, who was a long-lived species, felt immense pressure. My lord already knew of this person's existence. Qin Yu nodded. The aura of the blazing sun fragment was locked on not long ago. This person is crossing the sea of chaos and locking on to our sex position. I thought it would take a long time for him to arrive, but it looks like he's not far away now. Bai Fei smiled bitterly. She suddenly realized that her being punished by the heavenly punishment didn't seem to be too miserable after all. Qin Yu's experience was much more difficult than hers. The other wielder of the blazing sun fragment was a powerful existence that could suppress long-lived species. No matter how she looked at it, Qin Yu had no chance of winning. My lord, what do you intend to do? Qin Yu took a deep breath. I'll do my best and leave the rest to the heavens. I can't just stretch out my neck and wait to be executed. A sharp glint flashed in his eyes. Furthermore, who knows what will happen in the future? I won't be killed so easily. Bai Fei looked at the determined Qin Yu in front of her and felt a trace of admiration. Disregarding everything else, his determination was very strong. The situation was difficult, but it was better than Qin Yu, a weakling who was scared to death by others. Otherwise, there would really be no hope. My lord, you have to think of a way to increase your strength as soon as possible. Qin Yu nodded, feeling increasingly anxious. He had found his sister, and there was an additional burden on his shoulders. If he wanted to protect her from harm, the prerequisite was that he himself had to stay alive. Otherwise, Chi-Chi would definitely be implicated. He looked at Bai Fei. Do you have any suggestions? Bai Fei said, My lord, did Little Meat teach you the toad technique? Qin Yu nodded. Then there's no mistake. Bai Fei's eyes brightened. My lord, actually, she has already prepared your future cultivation path. You should know very well why your cultivation has increased so much that you have the strength to fight against the true sovereign today, right? Qin Yu thought for a moment, then said slowly, Skyfall Mountain. He looked over. Bai Fei nodded. This is the fastest and most effective method. Most importantly, others can't, but you can. Chapter 1783. Speak clearly, Bai Feifei calmly said. To sum it up, it is very simple. Kill a true sovereign, refine the great Tao, and steal his cultivation. She lifted a hand. The reason I said that others cannot do this, but my lord can, is because Little Meaty has already opened up this road for you. The true name of the toad art is the bright moonstar art. It wildly absorbs heaven and earth's spiritual strength to rapidly increase one's cultivation. In essence, it is a plundering cultivation method. But just this cultivation method alone is far from enough. Otherwise, the true sovereign great Tao would be far too cheap. The true key is that in your soul space, my lord, there's a rotating sun and moon. They have nearly formed the outline of a true sun and moon. With this and my help, you can refine the true sovereign great Tao and forcefully seize their cultivation, rapidly increasing yourself. Kill a true sovereign, seize their great Tao, and use it to boost one's own cultivation. Just how crazy was this method? Thinking about it, only a long-lived existence like Bai Feifei would be able to guess Little Meaty's true plan. Qin Yu's thoughts raced. He could confirm that this was indeed Little Meaty's true intentions. Thus, she wanted Qin Yu to temporarily borrow the strength to fight a true sovereign. This was in order to have the qualifications to walk down this road. Did the little blue lamp know? There was a high chance it did. Otherwise, with just Little Meaty alone, it was impossible for the sun and moon in her soul space to form the outline of a true sun and moon. In other words, they had tacitly allowed Qin Yu to do this. Taking a deep breath, Qin Yu said, "Fine, but my sect will not kill the innocent. This is my bottom line." Bai Feifei rolled her eyes. At this time, he was still playing around with his bottom line. He really didn't fear death. Of course, my lord has the final say in all of this. Moreover, I think my lord has many targets you can attack. For instance, the ancient remnant citizens. Those bastards should have long since been swept into their graves. They were very disrespectful to you before. There is also the state of Qin. What status do you have now? There is no need to fear them at all. Just face them head on. If a true sovereign comes, kill one. If two come, kill two. Seize their great Tao, and your cultivation will steadily rise. Soon, you will become a true sovereign. At that time, we can think of a way to take another step forward. Bai Feifei was excited. Qin Yu glanced at her and suddenly said, "The state of Qin is suppressing your body?" Bai Feifei stared blankly at Qin Yu. "Heir, well, my lord, you must know that everything I've said is for your own good. Of course, I can't lie through my teeth. That's exactly what happened." She gave him a thumbs up. "My lord, you're so smart. Stop flattering me." Qin Yu snorted. No wonder Bai Feifei was so enthusiastic. However, Qin Yu was not angered by this. Because right now, everyone was jumping on the same rope. If Bai Feifei could regain the strength of a long-lived species, it would be a great help to him. As for Bai Feifei, would she play one trick in front of his face and another behind his back? Humph! Qin Yu truly wasn't afraid. The little blue lamp had indeed hidden itself, completely hiding its aura. But in a truly critical moment, how could it not help? As long as the little blue lamp took action, Bai Feifei wouldn't be able to overturn the heavens. She should be well aware of this. That was why Bai Feifei would not play tricks with Qin Yu unless she had lost her mind. The general situation has been set. As for what to do, it depends on the situation. But right now, we cannot provoke the state of Qin. Qin Yu's words were resolute and decisive. He did not waver on this point. Nonsense. Was the state of Qin easy to provoke? The 4 sects and 4 families, as well as the monster race and the ancient remnant, were not present. Which faction did not have a true emperor? But towards the state of Qin, they were all respectful, not daring to offend it in the slightest. This alone was enough to show the state of Qin's strength. It was true that they did not have a good relationship with the state of Qin, and it was also true that they had been tricked by the imperial tutor. But when it was time to endure, one had to endure. Bai Feifei said resentfully, "My lord, with your status, you're too cautious." Caution is longevity. Yu paused, a self-deprecating smile on his lips. I'm not afraid of you laughing at me, but I feel that I'm becoming more and more afraid of death. Bai Fei thought for a moment. There's no one in this world who isn't afraid of death. It's not shameful. Yu shook his head. Don't joke around. Let's go. He turned and stepped forwards, directly returning to Azure Dragon Mountain. He appeared at Dragon Head Mountain, where the ancestral temple of that clan had been. The mountain had already collapsed, and the ancestral temple of that clan had been reduced to ruins. There was no longer a single person here. The people of that clan that Yu had released had long since fled without a trace. Of course, after cultivating to this day, Yu definitely understood the logic of a wildfire that couldn't be extinguished. The reason he had released the people of that clan was because they were doomed to die. It was just a matter of time. In the end, Chi was different from him. She had always lived with that clan, and Yu didn't believe that she didn't have any feelings for them. Rather than making her even sadder, Yu would rather give the people of that clan a painful and sad experience of death. With a flick of his sleeves, the ruins of that clan's ancestral temple were swept to the side. Yu arrived beneath the withered pagoda tree. He looked up at the skies. He recalled the azure dragon that he had seen in the past, the incarnation of the destiny of the world. It seemed to have been waiting for Yu. After he arrived, it directly fused into Yu's body. What was the reason? Yu never believed that he was truly the chosen one of the heavens. And there was always a reason for everything. The reason Yu came here was to try and find the truth of the matter. Just what was different about him? To be able to make the destiny of the world wait until today. But unfortunately, Yu stood there for an hour. His divine sense swept over the entire Azure Dragon Mountain with Dragon Head Mountain as the center, but he still didn't find anything. But it wasn't that he didn't discover anything. Shua, Yu stepped out. When he appeared again, he was in the wilderness. In front of him were two mounds of dirt nestled against each other. On the surface, there were weeds growing everywhere. There was even an unknown bird that had made its home here. They had bright feathers and long beaks. As they stared at the uninvited guest that suddenly appeared, they revealed a look of unease and panic. When Yu's gaze fell on them, the two birds spread open their wings and protected their nest. Yu soon knew what they were protecting. This was because from beneath their wings, two small heads popped out. It turned out that they had hatched their children. At this moment, Yu suddenly felt sad. His eyes fell on the two small mounds of dirt. He took a step back and knelt down to kowtow. Once, twice, thrice, Yu stood up. The truth was that in his memories, his impression of his parents was still vague. But no matter what, they were the ones who brought him into this world. After a moment of silence, Yu said, "Father, Mother, I didn't think that I would be able to find the location of your grave, so I came alone today. But my sister is fine. I don't remember my sister's name, so now I call her Chi. Her surname is the same as mine. This child has avenged the two elders. If anyone in the underworld knows, please rest in peace." He took a deep look at the small mounds of dirt on the ground and the nest here. Yu turned and left. He didn't do anything. He just let the bird family continue to live here. Shua. Yu's figure appeared at the edge of the Star Sea Grotto. He took a step forward and disappeared from sight. He thought of another way to investigate his own problems. A group of cultivators was migrating. Everyone was pale, and there was an unconcealable fear in their eyes. They were the people from that clan that had fled from the Star Sea Grotto. After their initial anger passed, they soon realized that there was a problem with their bodies. Their life force was dispersing. Moreover, as time passed, it was dispersing faster and faster. The aura of death shrouded everyone's hearts. The people of that clan that had been clamoring for revenge against Yu gradually fell silent. Bai Fei had said that there was no one in this world who didn't fear death. The people of that clan were no exception. "Elders, what should we do?" A cultivator from that clan asked with a panicked expression. He asked the question that was on everyone's mind. The surroundings suddenly fell silent. Numerous gazes gathered from all directions. Amidst the despair, there was also a trace of desire to live. The elders who were questioned fell into silence. This silence undoubtedly indicated a certain attitude. The gathered eyes dimmed little by little. The air became even more deathly still. Our life force is dispersing. The reason is that our status as the world's destiny spirit was seized, and we suffered a backlash. An elder suddenly said, "If we want to live, the only way is to kill Chinyu and take back our status as the world's destiny spirit." Another elder nodded. "That's right, this is the only way. Otherwise, all of us will die." Despicable. The heaven-opening sword sex, Qin, you must have already known of the situation we would face. So he pretended to be magnanimous and let us leave. Kill him. We must kill him. Take back our status as the world's destiny spirit. My clan will not be destroyed like this. Roars and shouts filled the air. Suddenly, puff, there was a dull thud. The fiercest and most ferocious elder looked as if he wanted to tear Chinyu apart and tear his head off. Blood gushed out. On his rolling head, a pair of eyes widened, filled with horror, fear, and confusion. Pa! A foot stepped on his rolling head. Chinyu was expressionless. He swept his eyes over the people of that clan. You want to kill me and take back your status as the world's destiny spirit? Very well. Chinyu, with a scream, the people of that clan revealed looks of horror and fear. They subconsciously drew back. Chinyu's eyes were icy cold. What? You don't want to continue shouting. I am right here, so why aren't you coming to kill me? Chinyu, do you want to go back on your word? The elder roared. You already agreed to let us leave alive. Bang! His entire body was instantly torn to shreds by the sword breath. The pungent smell of blood filled the air. Chinyu said, I also told you not to appear in front of me again. He swept his eyes around, but now you are here. Chapter 1784. Sect Master Qin. Just what will it take for you to let us go? The clan elder asked in a low voice. Chinyu had a calm expression. I have a question. Answer me truthfully, and I will let you leave alive. Otherwise, you will die here and now. Sect Master Qin, please speak. Why did you force my parents to death? And why did you strip away my bloodline? Chinyu lifted a finger. I will only give you one chance. Think carefully before you answer. The complexions of the several clan elders changed. And at this time, Chinyu's eyes had already covered them. There had to be a hidden story behind this. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for Chi-Chi to live peacefully until today. Good, I will tell you the answer. An elder roared out loud, a cold sneer on his face. Chinyu, do you hate my clan? Do you think that we killed your father and mother? Do you think that we extracted your bloodline and left you to fend for yourself? But the truth is that the one who caused all of this was you. It was all because of you that they died. You are the main culprit. Chinyu lifted a hand and grasped. An invisible strength erupted, instantly grabbing the elder's neck and pulling him in front of him. Continue. This clan elder clearly didn't care about anything else. He laughed out loud. Even if you don't let me speak, I will still speak clearly. In the past, my clan should have taken over and become the master of the Southwest Desolate region, establishing an empire that belonged to my clan. What was hateful was that the great Qin of the Central Desolate region went back on its word. It didn't truly kill the Southwest Desolate region's last great emperor. Instead, he detonated the things that fell from the heavens and destroyed the Southwest Desolate region, causing my clan to lose their surname and become rootless duckweed. In order to survive, my clan could only accept the gifts of the heavens and earth. With the identity of the world's destiny, we became immortal beings. But not everyone has the qualifications to accept the gifts of the heavens and earth. You do not have the qualifications, and you are even rejected by the heavens and earth. Your parents were killed to protect you. Otherwise, if you were the only one who died, they would still be alive today. Chinyu, this is the truth you want to know. So, the one who killed your parents was you. You harmed them. Bang! This person was crushed by Chinyu. His eyes swept over the other elders. Chinyu, this is the truth. Even if you kill all of us, it will still be the same. Another elder laughed loudly, a crazed expression on his face. Right now, aren't you in pain? That's right, this is what you deserve. Laughing loudly, the man charged forward. But before he could approach, he was smashed to pieces by Qin Yu's punch. Lies, you're all lying. He took a step forward, and his sword aura instantly erupted, covering the surrounding space. Puff, puff. The sound of flesh being sliced apart rang out as several of the clan's elders were instantly turned into meat paste. Qin Yu's eyes turned red. Crazy. Qin Yu has gone crazy. Run quickly. Every single one of our clansmen can live. We absolutely cannot allow him to kill all of us here. No matter who escapes, they must firmly remember everything that Qin Yu has done to our people. They must remember this hatred forever and never forget it. Whoosh, whoosh. The people of that clan fled in all directions. However, there were also people who did not choose to flee. On the contrary, they erupted with their full cultivation and rushed towards Qin Yu. He was willing to sacrifice himself to buy time for his clansmen to escape. It was very noble. But to Qin Yu, this sort of nobility had no meaning at all. Right now, he only had one thought. Kill. Kill everyone. They all deserve to die. He lifted his hand and grasped. The mountain and river sword appeared and swept forwards. Wherever the sword peak passed, space collapsed inch by inch. All the cultivators of that clan that were rushing over were sucked in. In an instant, they were torn to pieces. Shwa. Qin Yu took a step forward, and his figure instantly vanished. When he reappeared, he was already behind a group of cultivators. Ah, it's Qin Yu. We can't escape. Fight him to the death. Bang! The mountain and river sword slashed down. Under the sword edge, all their resentment and despair vanished into nothing. As the sword slashed down, Qin Yu didn't pause at all. He turned and took another step forward, chasing after another group of cultivators. A group of fleeing cultivators from that clan. The mountain and river sword slashed down again. At this moment, Qin Yu was like a slaughtering demon that had walked out from hell, recklessly slaughtering. The cultivators of that clan were like stalks in a field of hay, falling down in batches and shattering. Qin Yu, calm down, calm down. Bai Fei screamed with all her might. Hurry up and wake up. If this continues, you will fall into depravity. But her screams were useless now. The tiny blood vessels on the surface of Qin Yu's eyes were congested with blood, turning redder and redder, as if blood were about to seep out. Qin Yu, you devil. You sinner that killed your own parents. I curse you. I curse you to live in eternal pain. Kill, kill. The souls of everyone in my clan will haunt you forever and make you suffer endless torture. Fight him to the death. Even if we die, we must tear off a piece of flesh from Qin Yu's body. In their despair, the cultivators of that clan erupted. However, it was a pity that their outburst in a desperate situation was completely useless. Those that dared to resist were quickly killed. As for those that survived, their hearts were filled with fear. No, don't kill me. Qin Yu, we knew nothing about what happened in the past. None of this has anything to do with us. I beg you, on account that we are of the same bloodline, please be magnanimous and let us go. Their pleas were still useless. Qin Yu continued to flash about. Wherever he went, there was only blood and death. The cultivators of that clan howled in despair, cursing and cursing. Finally, they fell silent. When the last cultivator of that clan was reduced to dust by the mountain and river sword, he finally stopped. Hum, hum, the mountain and river sword cried out. At this time, because it had eaten its fill of blood, it had turned dark red. A visible blood-red aura lingered around Qin Yu's body, wrapping him within. His blood-red eyes were filled with cruelty and destruction. His body trembled, and as Qin Yu's body shivered, the skies shattered and the earth cracked. A terrifying aura swept out in all directions. Rumble, rumble. A deep rumbling sound exploded above his head. Blood-red clouds rapidly appeared. Thunder roared within. Qin Yu, hold on. You must hold on. You cannot fall into the demonic path. You absolutely cannot fall into the demonic path. Otherwise, you will truly be beyond redemption, and no one will be able to save you. Bai Fei screamed. She never thought that learning the truth would stimulate Qin Yu so greatly. It caused Qin Yu to lose control of his mind. Swish, a figure descended above his head. His eyes fell on Qin Yu, revealing a dignified expression. Falling into the demonic path, this person was the imperial advisor of the great Qin dynasty. While his face was dignified, his eyes became exceptionally bright, concealing the heat in their depths. If he could obtain the corpse of an Emperor Realm sword cultivator, he would be compensated for his fruitless efforts in the demon race's ancestral land. In fact, it would be even better. An Emperor Realm sword cultivator had died under the demonic path. Coupled with the sword in Qin Yu's hand, his strength would be extremely terrifying after being refined into a corpse puppet. Swish, another figure descended. It was Niu Dingtian. His eyes widened as he looked at the demonic Qin Yu, his heart trembling. Qin Yu, he bellowed. His voice exploded, carrying with it the power to penetrate one's heart. Swish, Qin Yu looked up, his blood-red eyes locking onto him. Niu Dingtian was shocked. In those eyes, he could only sense slaughter and destruction. Falling into the demonic path, he had already fallen into the demonic path. Damn it, how could this be? Not too long ago, when they had separated, Qin Yu had been perfectly fine. Niu Dingtian's eyes fell on the Imperial Advisor. The Imperial Advisor said lightly, I don't have the means to tempt a true emperor into the demonic path. This matter has nothing to do with me. Niu Dingtian frowned, but he knew that the Imperial Advisor was right. His eyes swept over the corpses around him, feeling their auras after they died. That clan, it was clear that there were no longer any living people here. From today onwards, that clan would completely disappear, becoming the dust of history. What did Qin Yu's demonic path have to do with them? Could it be that the clan had left something behind to scheme against Qin Yu? Swish, swish. One figure after another descended upon the area. Qin Yu's demonic path released a terrifying aura. For the true emperors of the world, it was like a burning torch in the darkness. Not only was it bright and dazzling, but it also made them feel the threat of the flames burning their bodies. Heaven-splitting sword sex Qin Yu. He's demonic. After a brief shock, the true emperors fell silent. How terrifying would a demonic Emperor Realm sword cultivator be? They had never seen it before, but just the aura alone was enough to make their hearts palpitate. They had to kill him. Otherwise, if they allowed Qin Yu to go crazy, the world would fall into chaos. The Imperial Advisor said, Don't worry, everyone. Heaven-splitting sword sex Qin Yu has long since violated the rules and will be punished by the heavens. He pointed at the blood-colored clouds above his head. Today, the heavens' retribution will descend. Bai Fei was well aware of Qin Yu's current situation. The heavens' retribution would really be triggered. Given Qin Yu's current state, he would die without a doubt if he faced the heavens' retribution head-on unless he used a fragment of the blazing sun. Once the fragment was used, his aura would be exposed. Then, the other holder of the blazing sun's fragment that was currently crossing the sea of chaos will be able to lock onto his aura. Death awaited him either way. Qin Yu, you're going to die. If you don't wake up now, you'll be in a hopeless situation. Bai Fei screamed. She suddenly thought of something. Qin Chi. Qin Chi. Think about your sister. She's so pitiful. She's just found her brother. Do you want her to be all alone again? Niu Dingtian is taking care of her now because of you. If you die, Qin Chi will definitely be in trouble. Qin Yu, you promised to take good care of Qin Chi. Are you going to go back on your word? It was effective. Qin Yu's blood-red eyes showed signs of struggle. A terrifying aura that seemed to be able to destroy everything began to fluctuate around him. The Imperial Tutor frowned slightly. No matter how he looked at it, a dead Qin Yu was the best outcome for the kingdom of Qin. He took a step forward. Swish, Niu Dingtian's figure blocked in front of him. Imperial Tutor, let's just watch. The Imperial Tutor's eyes turned cold. At this moment, Qin Yu exhaled and put down the mountain and river sword. His eyes were still red, but they were no longer as violent and crazed as before. They had only become colder. Qin Yu turned and locked his eyes on the Imperial Tutor. Imperial Tutor, what do you want to do? The Imperial Tutor took a step back. Sect Master Qin, you've reined in your horse at the precipice and escaped from the demonic trap. Congratulations. He cupped his hands. I have other matters to attend to. Farewell. Swish. He took a step forward and disappeared. It wasn't that the Imperial Tutor feared Qin Yu, but since Qin Yu hadn't fallen into the demonic trap, it wouldn't be easy to kill him. The Imperial Tutor had always followed the principle of planning before taking action. He looked down on mindless killing. Of course, the Imperial Tutor had to admit that the Qin Yu today gave him a very strong feeling. Perhaps it was because Qin Yu had just broken free from the demonic trap, but his violent aura made the Imperial Tutor feel a strong threat. Niu Dingtian said in a low voice, Qin Yu, are you all right? Qin Yu said, Thank you, Senior Niu. His eyes swept around. Thank you, everyone. I'm fine now that you were able to rush over. I won't send you off. It's good that Sect Master Qin is fine. For us Emperor Realm cultivators, falling into the demonic trap is still very terrifying. We must be more careful in the future. Farewell. Swish, swish. The true emperors left one after another. Qin Yu suddenly coughed. Blood spurted out from his nose and mouth. He bent down, but his terrifying aura didn't weaken in the slightest. He lifted a hand to stop Niu Dingtian from approaching. Senior Niu, I will eventually suffer the wrath of the heavens. This is true. It is best if you stay away from me. With great difficulty, he stopped coughing. Qin Yu looked up. I will ask Senior one more time. Please help me take good care of Qin Chi. Whoosh! With the cry of a sword, Qin Yu shot into the skies, vanishing without a trace. Chapter 1785. Becoming a demon was becoming a demon. Once it happened, it would be beyond redemption. Qin Yu's consciousness had awakened, but he could not change this fact. Thus, he did not dare to stay any longer. He had to leave immediately. His blood-red eyes surged with bloodlust. Bai Fei, he bellowed. Swoosh! Bai Fei appeared beside him. My lord, you've been demonized. Qin Yu growled through gritted teeth. Tell me something I don't know. Bai Fei said, a demonized person's consciousness will fall and be controlled by the demonic nature in their body, becoming a walking corpse that only knows how to kill and destroy. My lord, although you've awakened, as long as you're still demonized, your consciousness will fall sooner or later. Continue. Beads of sweat appeared on Bai Fei's forehead. Let me think. Her eyes brightened. I've got it. My lord, you can only refine the demonic nature in your body and tame it into your own state. I remember someone did it a long time ago. But refining the demonic nature requires the cultivation of a true emperor. Only by using one's own great Tao can one destroy bit by bit. Qin Yu's eyes were crimson, glinting fiercely. In other words, I need to become a true emperor. Bai Fei nodded. Yes. Good. Qin Yu raised his sword and slashed through the sky. Then I'll go fight for the true Emperor realm. Swoosh! He stepped into it. West Wilderness, Jade Gate Pass. The fisherman who had snuck back quietly turned back into an inconspicuous vendor on the long street. He told the outside world that he had gone to visit a friend a few days ago. He said a few words to a few familiar stall owners and dropped the matter. Was it true? That's not important. The world isn't peaceful. Even the great Qin Empire. Many people disappear without a trace every year. Thus, he could not be a busybody. It was good enough that he could protect himself. Behind the stall, the fisherman curled up listlessly, leaning against the wall. At this moment, his body suddenly stiffened. The sun shone warmly on him, but at this moment, the fisherman did not feel the slightest bit of warmth. There was only endless coldness. Anger and fear appeared in his eyes. The fisherman took a deep breath and stood up. He looked up at the sky, hesitation flashing in his eyes. Gritting his teeth, the fisherman took a step forward and disappeared. In the next moment, when he appeared once more, he was at the peak of star-sifting mountain. Lord Qin, looking at the scenery in front of him, the fisherman said in a low voice. Qin Yu turned around. His blood-red eyes caused the fisherman's complexion to change. Bedevilment. He had also sensed the commotion from before. However, the ancient remnant lineage had always been hated by everyone, and now they were being chased by everyone. He didn't want to join in on the fun. Of course, most importantly, the fisherman believed that the person who was chosen by that person wouldn't be easily harmed. The facts proved that his guess was correct. Qin Yu was still alive and well. But now, why was he here? The fisherman secretly raised his guard. Qin Yu said, "Fisherman, let me ask you, where is the master of the Dongting court hiding?" The fisherman's complexion changed once more. He glared at Qin Yu. "My current state isn't too good, so I don't have much patience." Qin Yu stepped forwards. "Tell me, otherwise I can only use you as a substitute today." At this moment, as Qin Yu's gaze locked onto him, the fisherman felt a great fear rise in his heart. The aura of death enveloped him. He is deep in the Black Sea. He saw Qin Yu's lips curve up in a cold smile. The fisherman hurriedly said. Qin Yu nodded. "You better not be lying to me." He flicked his sleeves. Shua, Bai Fei Fei appeared. Her eyes fell on the fisherman. "I've already locked onto his aura. No matter where he is, he won't be able to escape." The two of them turned and vanished from sight. A bitter smile appeared on the fisherman's face. He really wanted to know just who Qin Yu was. Why did he always have existences on the level of longevity by his side? Little Meaty was one, and this woman in front of him was clearly one as well. Although the pressure she gave him couldn't compare to Little Meaty, longevity was still longevity. However, a long-lived species was a long-lived species. Even though it was incomplete, it was still a simple matter to lock onto his aura. The fisherman secretly rejoiced. He hadn't lied to Qin Yu. Otherwise, what awaited him would have been an extremely terrifying fate. The master of the Dongting court. Although both sides were true sovereigns of the ancient remnant lineages, there was a saying of the human race that it was better for a fellow Taoist to die than for himself. Why would he die for the master of the Dongting court? That's right. In the eyes of the fisherman, the master of the Dongting court had already died. Being locked onto by Qin Yu and also suppressed by a longevity. How could he not die? Black Sea. Because the waters were extremely deep and the color was nearly black, it got its name. Within a radius of 100,000 miles, there were countless great aquatic monsters. It was called the Black Sea region. Rumors said that in the depths of the Black Sea, there was a Black Sea dragon palace. The palace master was a black flood dragon that had cultivated for tens of thousands of years. Now, he was already showing signs of transforming into a dragon and was extremely powerful. In truth, that black flood dragon had already become food for the master of the Dongting court, nourishing him. But to the outside world, the master of the dragon palace was still that black flood dragon. The master of the Dongting court had used a transformation technique to completely occupy the magpie's nest. To this day, no one had seen through him. Of course, to put it another way, everyone who had discovered the secret of the master of the Dongting court had already been killed. Those that survived weren't necessarily fools. Most of them had a tacit understanding or tacitly accepted this matter. After all, the Black Flood Dragon was still powerful, perhaps even stronger than before. The sphere of influence of the Dragon Palace had expanded several times than before. It had almost become the master of the entire Black Sea. All the subordinates of the Dragon Palace had also risen along with it. Of course, no one would do stupid things. Today, the inner palace of the Dragon Palace was closed. Previously, a large number of wine, delicacies, and beauties had been sent in. The subordinates of the Dragon Palace had long been aware of the temperament of their palace master. They all winked at him and envied him. TSK, TSK, our palace master was really living the life of an immortal. I heard that this time, a princess of the Clam clan was offered to the palace master. It's true. I took a look at her from a distance. She's really like a person in a painting. Her beauty is not enough to describe her. I hope that when this princess was thrown out, she would still be alive, so that we can also enjoy ourselves. You don't want to live? How dare you say such nonsense? If the palace master hears about it, no one can save you. Hee, don't be too nervous. This matter is an open secret. I heard that our palace master doesn't care about it at all. Outside the dragon palace, a group of water demons laughed. But in the next moment, the laughter came to an abrupt end. All the water demons widened their eyes, revealing horror and fear. Then, their bodies instantly split apart. A massive amount of blood gushed out, dyeing the seawater red. An invisible force descended, separating the seawater. Qin Yu's figure appeared. He looked up at the dragon palace hidden deep under the water. Is it here? Swish! Bai Feifei's figure appeared. Qin Yu chuckled. Very good. He raised his hand and waved. Then let's start according to the plan. Bai Feifei stepped back and her figure disappeared. Then, an invisible force descended, covering the entire underwater dragon palace, isolating the aura of this place from the outside world. Deep in the dragon palace, in the main hall, the lord of the Dongting Palace, who was enjoying himself, suddenly changed his expression. Who? He roared. He was holding a naked water demon beauty in his arms, but the aura that he had suddenly released shattered her into pieces. With screams, a large number of beauties fled in all directions. Bang! The door of the hall was smashed. Qin Yu strode in, holding the mountain and river sword. The sword blade was like blood, vibrating with terrifying killing intent. Qin Yu, the lord of the Dongting Palace, screamed. How did you know I was here? Did the fisherman tell you? Qin Yu nodded. Yes, damn fisherman. The lord of the Dongting Palace stomped his feet and cursed. I'm not done with you. He stared at Qin Yu. What do you want to do? Qin Yu's lips curled up, revealing a cold smile. Kill you. He raised his hand and slashed down with the mountain and river sword. The lord of the Dongting Palace's heart shrank. He was greatly frightened. Qin Yu, don't go too far. I'm not here today to join in the fun. With a low roar, he took a step back and retreated. Qin Yu chased after him. That's not important. What's important is that I'm going to kill you today. Rumble. There was a heaven-shaking explosion. With Qin Yu as the boundary, the entire dragon palace was cut apart and turned into ruins. The casualties were heavy. As the sword fell, the blood in Qin Yu's eyes became thicker. He smiled and raised his hand, slashing down for the second time. Lord of the Dongting Palace, you can't escape. This was not just a joke. Bai Feifei's sealing of the dragon palace was not only to isolate the aura. The lord of the Dongting Palace soon realized this and became even more shocked and angry. Qin Yu, you're crazy. How dare you attack me? You're provoking the bloodline of the ancient survivors. Qin Yu laughed. So what? The mountain and river sword slashed down. The horrible sword breath filled every inch of the space like a storm. The entire dragon palace had turned into ruins. The lord of the Dongting Palace dodged again and again, but the space for him to dodge was becoming smaller and smaller. Qin Yu, he roared furiously, I'll fight you to the death. It turned out that a true emperor was really terrifying when he had the thought of fighting with his life. In particular, the opponent was the lord of the Dongting Palace, a powerful ancient survivor who had lived for a long time. Rumble. The bottom of the sea was boiling, setting off stormy waves. Countless undercurrents rushed in all directions. A giant frog appeared at the bottom of the sea. This was the real body of the lord of the Dongting Palace. It opened its mouth and swallowed. Endless seawater poured into it. It was extremely terrifying. It seemed like it was going to swallow the entire Black Sea. Qin Yu was wrapped up by the seawater and pulled into the mouth of the giant frog. His blood-red eyes flashed with madness and ruthlessness. He did not resist at all. He let himself be wrapped up by the seawater and entered the mouth of the giant frog. His eyes suddenly fell into darkness. Ha ha! Qin Yu, you're too arrogant. My belly is not a place where you can come and go as you please. Today, I'll let you know what it means to refine the world with water and dissolve everything. The giant frog laughed wildly and spoke human language. It was like rolling thunder exploding at the bottom of the sea. It turned over and lay on the ground on all fours. Its chest and abdomen kept rolling, making loud rumbling sounds. Chapter 1786. At this moment, the chest and abdomen of the giant frog were rolling like a drum. What was really terrifying was the turbulent seawater that was swallowed by the giant frog. It was like countless blades were cutting back and forth, trying to grind Chinyu into pieces. This was also where the confidence of the Lord of Dongting came from. Swallowing the sea was his innate divine ability, and as his cultivation and realm increased, its power would also increase exponentially. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that water could refine the world and dissolve everything. Even if it was a true emperor, as long as he was swallowed into its stomach, he would be killed bit by bit. Ha ha! Chinyu, you're courting death today. Die! The giant frog roared, and the tumbling of its chest and abdomen became even stronger. The waves were earth-shattering. But in fact, Chinyu's current situation was much better than what the Lord of Dongting had imagined. His talent was indeed powerful, but Chinyu had the mountain river sword in his hand, and the sword breath formed a small world. No matter how much the waves hit, they couldn't touch him at all. The reason why Chinyu had been silent and didn't attack was because he was waiting for an opportunity. One sword was going to decide the outcome and kill the Lord of Dongting. Boom! In the darkness, wild tides raged about, blotting out the skies as they surrounded Chinyu. His eyes were as red as the sea, and the violent aura around him was becoming stronger and stronger. He was like a demon that walked out of hell. Suddenly, Chinyu raised his head, and a ferocious look flashed in his blood-red eyes. Now was the time. Boom! He raised the mountain river sword and slashed down. The raging waves were instantly cut open and then fell into a state of silence. Everything seemed to have been paused. The next moment, a painful cry was heard. There was a wound on the chest of the giant frog, and seawater gushed out. It was mixed with the blood of the giant frog, which also took away his life. Impossible! This is impossible! The giant frog howled in anger and fear. It tried its best to cover the wound, but it was destined to be in vain. Whoosh! A sword light flashed, and the giant frog's voice stopped. Its huge body fell backward. However, it was only natural that the true monarch would not be killed so easily. Lonely. With a scream, a giant golden frog shadow escapes from the dead body of the Lord of Dongting. It stares at Chinyu with resentment in its eyes. This phantom is the big prop of the Lord of Dongting. As long as his great Tao was not destroyed, he could pass through the long years of slumber and reform his body once more, returning from death. Chinyu, the Lord of Dongting roars. I will come back. I will definitely come back. By Fei Fei, Chinyu roared. Boom! An invisible force suddenly descends like a towering mountain. The big prop of the Lord of Dongting appears and directly suppresses it in place, forcefully severing its connection with the heavens and earth. No, impossible. How can my great way be suppressed? The Lord of Dongting widened his eyes. Chinyu, what did you do? No one could imagine that an Emperor Realm cultivator would be able to command a longevity cultivator. Chinyu took a step forward, the mountain and river sword in his hand. The surface of the sword vibrated with a terrifying, baleful aura. Pitch black and scarlet intertwined. The sword stabs out, and the big prop that pierced through the Lord of Dongting appears. The giant golden frog's eyes widen, and its face is full of fear and despair. Boom! Its body directly explodes. Chinyu's lips curls into a cold smile. He raises his hand and points between his eyebrows. Open! The phantom of a vortex instantly appears. Looking down, one can vaguely see the sun and moon rotating in this vortex. Rumble, a low roar comes from the vortex, and at the same time, it releases an incomparably powerful, plundering power. On the surface of every golden fragment, the phantom of the Lord of Dongting appears. His face is full of fear as he looks at Chinyu and loudly begs for mercy. Chinyu, let me go, please let me go. But all of this is clearly in vain. All the golden fragments are devoured by the vortex in the blink of an eye. Swish by, Fei Fei's figure appears in front of him. She looks at Qin Yu with a solemn expression. My lord, please begin. I will protect you. Qin Yu closes his eyes and sits cross-legged. The next moment, his consciousness enters the soul space. At this moment, the purple sun and blue moon shine explosively, rising in the east and setting in the west. They turn into a sun and moon vortex. And within this vortex, countless golden fragments of the great Tao are sucked in. As the vortex revolves, the fragments rub against each other, making crackling sounds. Tiny golden particles constantly vibrate and then float out from the vortex. With just a glance, Qin Yu knows that this is the pure, great Tao strength obtained from the Lord of Dongting after the sun and moon vortexes are refined. Qin Yu closes his eyes. Bang! A swallowing power suddenly erupts from within his body. Bright Moonstar art revolves with all its strength. Toting skill. Could it be that when little Meaty was speaking nonsense, she had already predicted this day? Otherwise, it would be hard to believe that this is just a coincidence. This thought rapidly turns in his mind before he immediately suppresses it. Because there isn't much time left for Qin Yu. If he wants to rid himself of the threat of becoming demonic, he must break into the true, sovereign realm as soon as possible. Once his consciousness falls, perhaps Qin Yu will never have the chance to wake up again. The sun and moon vortexes can indeed refine the great Tao and seize its strength for its own use. But the speed is a bit too slow. It isn't that it is slow, but that Qin Yu doesn't have the time to continue waiting. He lifts his hand and grasps it. Shua! The mountain river sword unexpectedly appears in Qin Yu's soul space, grasped in his hand. Go! With a shout, the mountain river sword howls out, rushing into the sun and moon vortexes. Boom! Boundless sword aura erupts, slashing at the great Tao fragment. The movement of the whirlpool itself suddenly became violent, rumbling like a raging sea. More and more golden grains fly out from the vortex. It's working. In the outside world, Bai Feifei looks at Qin Yu and subconsciously lets out a long breath. He really has guts to charge into the sun and moon vortexes on a sword. If the mountain river sword is damaged, Qin Yu will be the first to suffer. If he suffers a backlash with his current condition, it would be hard for him not to become demonic. He really dares. Luckily, Qin Yu has succeeded. With the addition of the mountain river sword, the speed at which he refines the great Tao has risen. But the danger hasn't passed. On the contrary, with Qin Yu's current condition, it isn't difficult for him to kill the Lord of Dongting. In Bai Feifei's eyes, this is the most dangerous time. Because Qin Yu, who should be punished by the heavens, has now become demonic. And will the heavens and earth allow him to break free from his demonic state? Or should I seize this opportunity to kill him? Bai Feifei looks up, her gaze piercing through the water of the Black Sea and landing on the sky. Scarlet blood is gushing out and accumulating. More and more, thicker and thicker, making one feel uneasy and fearful. That's the aura of the heavens. Bai Feifei's heart sank. It seems that the heavens and earth itself have made a decision. This is the worst possible outcome. But the situation has come to this, and she has no other choice. Only if Qin Yu survives will she have a future. Otherwise, what awaits her is the fate of being separated and suppressed again. Bai Feifei grits her teeth, her expression resolute. A long-lived species that encountered the heavens' retribution is destined to meet a tragic end. And Qin Yu is the only hope she has after waiting for countless years. Bai Feifei will not give up. So what if it's the heavens' retribution? It's not like I didn't experience it myself back then. At most, I'll taste it again. This time, the taste of the heavens' retribution is to buy time for Qin Yu. Once he succeeds, his predicament will be easily resolved. Of course, there is another important reason why Bai Feifei made the decision to help Qin Yu resist the heavens' retribution. The blazing sun's fragment. In order to hide himself, Qin Yu chose to conceal the blazing sun's fragment that he wields. But when danger comes, when death is right in front of him, how can he hide? And once he uses the blazing sun's fragment, what can the heaven's retribution do? Even if it's just a fragment, and it's not complete, a blazing sun is a blazing sun, above the heavens and the myriad worlds. In any case, it's not a hopeless situation yet. But Bai Fei still hoped that Qin Yu will not let her down and not use the blazing sun's fragment, his final trump card. Otherwise, he will be targeted by the pursuers from across worlds. Even if he can survive today, it will be of no use. In the end, he will not be able to escape death. Qin Yu, you have to give it your all. Heaven-plucking sect. Qin Yu's face was ashen, and he gritted his teeth. Again. At this moment, he was filled with resentment and wished he could roar at the heavens. Qin Yu, who the hell are you? An existence like the true emperor stands at the peak of the world, but in front of Qin Yu, he's just something to fill his stomach. Killing a great Tao and seizing its power to strengthen himself was already very excessive. But what's even more excessive was that after such a short period of time, he actually killed another great Tao. The true emperor has become a leak. This is simply preposterous. At this moment, the ashen Qin Yu's heart was filled with despair. He finally came to a conclusion. In this lifetime, he probably would not have a chance to turn things around in front of Qin Yu. Whether he was angry or sad, he still had to do what he had to do. Otherwise, a single thought from Qin Yu would be enough to make him suffer. Thus, under the surprised and incredulous gazes of the entire heaven-pulling sect, Qin Yu once again announced that he would enter seclusion. The heavens bless my heaven-pulling sect. With such a heaven-gifted talent, the heaven-pulling sect will not have to worry about prosperity. If the ancestors in the underworld know of this, they will be happy. On this day, the entire heaven-pulling sect rejoiced. On the 13th floor, Li Ruhua immediately felt the uncontrollable changes in her body. Her strength was increasing. In an instant, she sensed Qin Yu's aura. It really is him. Biting her lip, Li Ruhua had a complicated look in her eyes. She stood up. Master, disciple is not feeling well. I will leave early today, but you can go. Li Ruhua turned and bid her farewells. She hurried back to her residence and activated all the spells, isolating her aura. At this time, she didn't notice that a sharp light flashed in the eyes that fell on her body. Today's lesson ends here. Go back and cultivate. Yes, master. The disciples respectfully bowed and left. The 9th floor master stood up and stepped out. In the next moment, he appeared on the 13th floor. 9th floor master, what's the matter? Across from him, a voice came from a mass of light. The 9th floor master cupped his hands together and said, Floor master, Li Ruhua's aura has changed. The light fluctuated. After several breaths of time, it gradually calmed down. Understand. The 9th floor master nodded and left. A deep voice came from the light. So it was like this. Heaven-splitting sword sex Qin Yu. Just who are you? Shua. A person walked out from the light. However, the space around him was rapidly shaking within an extremely small range, forming distortions that wrapped around him, making it impossible to see him clearly. But without a doubt, this was the true master of the 13th floor, the one who wielded the highest authority. The floor master flicked his sleeves, and a screen of light appeared in front of him. Above the endless black sea, the sky was crimson, suppressive, and terrifying. Heavenly retribution. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.